There shouldn't be an echo. It was muted.
Oh,
How did it?
There must be.
Might took a while.
Yeah, there must be, because if you look behind us, that's us. And I don't know if there's a camera.
Carry your ring. We're good? We're good?
This is
Okay,
probably-
good evening, everyone. Welcome to our October 23rd Portsmouth Town Council meeting. Thank you all for coming to the high school tonight for this meeting. Before we begin, I need to go through the emergency evacuation procedures. It's a little different here. In the event of an emergency, we have doors at the front here, exit signs. If you go out the one to your right, you go out this door and take a left, follow the exit signs. If you go out the door up here on your left, you'll take a right, follow the exit signs. If you leave at the rear of the building, you'll go out the front door and take a left. The idea would be we would meet across the parking lot where the baseball field is, and we'd await further instruction at that point. For those of you that are standing in the back, come on in. Plenty of seats in the auditorium. And with that, we will begin with our pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for a minute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all. A little bit more housekeeping. We are live streaming. For those of you that are participating remotely via Zoom, there's a hand icon on your screen which will indicate to the host you have a question. If you're calling in on your phone, *9 will allow you to indicate you have a question. *6 will allow you to mute and unmute your phone. If you're participating remotely or in person tonight, when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the town clerk. That would be helpful. Okay. Let's begin with our roll call.
Mr. Paxton,
Here.
Ms. Abbott,
Here.
Mr. Gleason,
Here.
Mr. Hamilton.
Here.
Mr. Levesque,
Yeah.
Mr. Aguirre.
Here. Okay. Next item is our president's executive summary. There was no executive session. I do not have any updates for the executive summary. So we will begin with our consent agenda.
Mr. President, move that the consent agenda be approved as printed.
Second.
No, microphone.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0. Next, we'll be sitting as the Board of License Commissioners. First item, peddler's license, a mobile food establishment.
Look at that. They look healthy.
Anna's, I'm gonna get this one wrong, Vespuciano LLC, 226 Rochambeau Ave, Providence.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Could adjourn from.
Motion to adjourn from the Board of License Commissioners.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Levesque.
Mr. Levesque, sorry about that. Yeah, bear with us tonight. It's a little different setup, so our clerk can't really see what's going on. So we might have to work a little slower. Next item is our minutes from our October 10th meeting.
Mr. President, I move that we approve with one correction.
The date of the e-waste pickup that will be held here at the high school will be December 9th, not the 14th as printed. And the pickup on Prudence Island for Prudence Island folks will be the week before.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have tax vouchers, 2023 1023-01 to 2023 1023-04.
Mr. President, I move that they be accepted as presented by the tax collector.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. And you get back.
You are all going to need to speak up louder because they need to hear it on the microphone. Got that.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, let's move on to our town administrator's report. Mr. Raymond.
Good evening, Mr. President, Town Council, ladies and gentlemen. During the budget proceedings earlier this year, we discussed the hiring of a civilian harbor master in lieu of assigning a patrol officer to that duty. We held a meeting with members of the Harbor Management Commission on Friday, the 13th, and discussed ways that this initiative could be implemented in Portsmouth. I believe we developed a plan ahead, and we will work out the details over the next few months before bringing this forward for council discussion and approval during the budget meetings in April. With respect to the Old Mill Lane natural gas site, the fall season maintenance being conducted by Algonquin should now be completed. However, the equipment will remain on site for the upcoming Rhode Island Energy winter operations season, which begins December 1st. So in preparation for the upcoming winter season, a site visit was held with Portsmouth and Middletown fire departments and Rhode Island DEM officials. Additional meetings will be held between Rhode Island Energy and our first responders as we draw closer to the start of the season. The Rhode Island legislature passed a significant suite of bills in the last legislative session related to land use, zoning, and housing production. These bills represent a significant set of changes to our land use structure. Virtually all of these enactments will require corresponding amendments to the town zoning ordinance and land use regulations. Most of these new laws become effective on January 1st, 2024. Over the last few months, the planning staff has been working closely with the Rhode Island American Planning Association, Rhode Island Housing, and their municipal planning counterparts to determine how to best implement the required changes at the local level. Of note, the planning department will take advantage of the General Assembly's Housing Production Fund, of which $4 million has been made available for municipal technical assistance administered by Rhode Island Housing to assist with the implementation of the required changes. Additionally, Rhode Island Housing has created a series of guidance documents and template materials to guide the planning department as we move forward to update our local land use laws. Furthermore, the planning staff has already held a planning board workshop on October 11th to discuss the pending changes, and the zoning board of review will hold a similar workshop on November 16th. These 13 bills the General Assembly passed are separate from the town's goal of overhauling our existing zoning ordinance. Planning staff will be approaching this project using a tiered method, meaning undertaking the required changes associated with the Zoning Enabling Act first, followed by those amendments to land use regulations with a later effective date of March 1st, 2024. There will be several opportunities during the update process where we can concurrently update the statutory changes and outdated elements of our ordinance at the same time. For the remaining zoning updates, the planning department will engage a consultant using the funding that was previously approved by the town council. The U.S. Congressional District 1 special election will be held November 7th. Early voting began October 18th at Town Hall during normal business hours and will be available through 4 p.m. on November 6th. Polls for November 7th have been combined for this election, and I encourage all voters to check the canvassing office webpage for a list of appropriate polling sites. And just a reminder, a couple reminders first, I will be out of the office starting tomorrow. I will return during the day on November 7th. My access to phone and email will be limited, and Police Chief Brian Peters will be acting in my absence. And then second, Town Hall will be closed in observance of Veterans Day on Friday, November 10th. And Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Rayner. Okay, moving on to old business. First item under old business is our monthly finance report.
Mr. President, I move that the due and just bills as presented by,
This is, that's the report.
This is just financial.
the financial reports be accepted as printed.
Second for discussion, by Mr.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick. Give us, Kirkpatrick, give us report.
Okay, very good.
Sorry, Ryan.
You know the end. It's to the left.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. So as of the end of September, the town has completed the first quarter of fiscal year 2024. Our year-to-date general fund revenues were at about 29.8% of total budget, with the primary sources there being tax receipts, state aid, town clerk, building department receipts. Our year-to-date general fund expenditures were at 25.5% of total budget. And the primary drivers there were the quarterly pension contributions and salaries and benefits. So far, the trends are all positive to date, and we'll continue to monitor, and we will report as needed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
With the motion and a second.
So we have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Okay. On to old business number 2. This is a request for clarification on a request for proposal, RFP, pertaining to the operation of the transfer station for bulky waste drop-off and for diversion items. Mr. Woodhead. And Mr. Woodhead, just before we begin, I just need to say a couple things. First of all, I can see that there's a lot of folks, I think, standing out in the lobby area. There are plenty of seats inside. For those of you that are standing outside, if you're not sure, there's plenty of seats inside. Feel free to come on in. We might be here for a little while. And again, just before we begin, this is under old business. This is a continuation. For those of you who were not in attendance back in May 22nd council meeting, there was an item on our agenda. It was a curbside collection white paper review for RFP preparation. That's when a lot of discussion occurred over the transfer station, as well as a hybrid situation for going out for curbside collection. At that meeting, there was a lot of discussion about use of the transfer station. The transfer station is currently under contract until July of 2025, correct? June of 2025. June 30th, 2025. So that night, the council voted in favor of moving forward with an RFP for a hybrid curbside collection. There were several items that were discussed and voted on that night. And there was one item which revolved around the bulky waste curbside collection. We're here tonight to talk about the bulky waste curbside collection. There are 2 options presented. And that's really what we're here to discuss tonight, is the 2 options resulting from our initial discussions that occurred back in May. So with that, Mr. Woodhead.
Thank you, Council President, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. Like Mr. Aguirre said, I just want to give a little brief update too. So this is what we have before you, the clarification for the use of the transfer station for bulky waste and diversion items for our RFP that will be issuing. And before I begin, I'll just give everyone a little more background as to where we were and where we are now. At the October 11th, 2022 council meeting, we presented the town council with bid results from the curbside collection RFP. The council made 3 motions. One was to extend the current transfer station contract to 1 year. However, the contractor would only extend it for 2 years, so the renewal will end June 30th, 2025. The second was to reject the RFP proposal for curbside collection. And the third was to direct the staff to work with our consultant to develop a hybrid option that, 1, does not use pay-as-you-throw bags, 2, has curbside collection for the entire town, and 3, uses the transfer station for bulky waste and diversion. So working with our consultant, we developed a white paper, and that was presented, that we prepared to address the options that were to be considered for the development of this hybrid option curbside collection. The white paper identified key areas to discuss and decide upon by the council. On March 13th, in the town administrator's report, the town administrator updated the council on the white paper disposal of white goods put on white paper for review and public comment, and it was posted on March 14th, 2023. On March 27th, 2023, in the town administrator's report, the town administrator reminded everyone about the hybrid waste management white paper, and it was up for comment until April 14th. On April 10th, the town administrator's report, the town administrator wanted everyone to know that the white paper would be up until April 14th, and we had 40 comments to that date. And on April 24th, 2023, in the town administrator's report, the town administrator updated everyone about closing of the comments for the white paper. And we will present the white paper with public comments at the council meeting in May for discussion and decision. On May 25th, 2023, the white paper was presented to the council for discussion and decisions. And we had 7 items to decide. The first was a motion to have the staff move forward with the development of the RFP for a hybrid waste management plan. The second was to have the town request leaf and yard waste debris to be collected curbside by the vendor on a 22-week schedule, with weekly pickups from April 1st till April 30th, then every other week pickups from May 1st until October 31st, and then weekly pickups again from November 1st to the second week in December. The third one was to impose a weight limit on leaf and yard waste collection on the collection day. And we came up with 10 bags or bundles, and not to be more than 50 pounds per bag or bundle. The fourth was to eliminate the page and throw bags and try to combat the negative effect elimination of the page and throw bags may have on recycling. We downsized the default totes from 95 to 95, 90 to 95 to 60 to 65 gallons for solid waste and mixed recyclables, and required page and throw bags for overflow for MSW. And will allow residents to swap out the 60 to 65 gallon recycling tote to a 90 to 95 gallon recycling tote. The fifth one was to allow limited operation of the Headley Street transfer station to allow residents to dispose of bulky waste and diversion items with hours of operations, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, noon to 7, and Saturdays, 7:30 to 4. We included in the RFP Thursdays from noon to 7 p.m. and Saturdays, 7:30 to 4. Number 6 was a motion to have the transfer station open weekly, that we did. And number 7 was an exclusive single hauler service for the municipality. We're currently still working on this, and when the hauler is chosen, an ordinance will be drafted for the council's decision. So now we're at this juncture right now. So we've been working in close collaboration with our waste management consultant on a hybrid waste management RFP. The last part of the RFP needs clarification in the operation of the transfer station for bulky waste and diversion. Staff and our consultant came up with 2 options to help with the last piece of this RFP for your review and comments. The first option was to prepare a curbside collection RFP, which provides for bulky waste to be picked up at the curbside for an additional cost to the residents without using the transfer station. Or option two, prepare a curbside collection RFP with option 1 as an option 1, and prepare a separate RFP to contract for the operation of the transfer station for bulky waste and diversion materials with weekly hours, Thursday noon to 7 and Saturday 7:30 to 4. We did develop a spreadsheet should option 2 be chosen by the council. The following spreadsheet presents a projected certificate cost of $235. Each resident choosing to utilize the transfer station for bulky waste or diversion materials. The $235 would be in addition to the cost of curbside collection, and this is just an estimate only. After we developed this spreadsheet, this brought us to deliberate not only the operation details, but also the fundamental justification for upholding the transfer station operations. Our aim is to formulate an approach that reconciles the code system with the transfer station with the forthcoming curbside collection. As we analyze the situation, the importance of striking a balance between providing transfer station services for bulky waste and diversion and offering an appealing curbside collection alternative became increasingly apparent, as we have 2,278 currently using the transfer station and 4,755 contracted with a private hauler. So we solicit your guidance and shaping our understanding of how best to navigate the challenges to best establish a waste management solution that is equitable, sustainable, and economically sound in alignment with the town's best interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodhead. Okay. We have any questions or comments from counselors on option 1 or option 2?
Mr. President.
Yep.
Just to clarify your numbers, can you repeat current usage at the transfer station and how many users there feel there are in Portsmouth?
So as of right now, we have 2,279 currently using the transfer station households.
And you said there's 7,000 other users. What is the number?
In the RFP, we have 5 units or less that are eligible for curbside pickup, and that would be 7,033 eligible households that could use that. And that comes out to 4,755 that are currently not using the transfer station.
Thank you.
Mr. President. Thank you, Director. The number that you used for the number of people using the compact station or the transfer station was a little higher than the one that I thought I had received. What are the number of stickers at the $350 rate that have been purchased for the transfer station? 250, I'm sorry.
So at the $250 rate, there's 1,748 people that have bought a transfer station sticker for $250. There's 507 people that bought $260 worth of transfer station stickers. That's a transfer station, and we added an additional $10 sticker. And then you have 18 people that got reduced pricing, and then 5 Naval War College exemptions.
I didn't hear the last figure, sir.
There was only 5 that had the Naval War College exemptions.
Right. So it's around 1,700 that purchased the full sticker.
Okay.
So it was 1,748 that bought the transfer station sticker, that paid $250, and 507 of them bought the transfer station, plus they paid the extra $10 for an additional sticker.
Still doesn't come out right.
And then there was 18 households that bought a reduced sticker cost. I don't know if it was a senior price or they got a reduced price. And then there was 5 of Naval War College exemptions.
Mr. President, are you going to keep late?
I just want to, folks, we are going to allow folks to come up to the podium and speak. I know it's a hot topic, but please don't yell from the audience. Even if you disagree or agree with something, please don't yell up front. If the answer is, I will give everyone that wants to speak an opportunity to speak. So please just kind of hold back on any of the shouting from the crowd. And also, it is an auditorium, so I know some of you might not think it, but there's a lot of discussion that's going on, and we can hear like a lot of background noise. So if you could please keep your discussions to a minimum, just so everyone else has an opportunity to hear what's going on. Thank you.
All right. And again, folks, if I misstate a number, please accept that I misstated it. I am not trying to deceive anyone in this room. Now, people also have to pay for the orange bags, what I used to buy, the orange bags for pay as you go.
Correct.
All right, approximately, do we know how many or at least how much the town receives for those? How much the town?
So currently, we're on track to receiving our estimated allotment for that. It was Because we're only in October right now, so we still have 3 more months, October, November, and December. So we estimated $221,653 for this paid road revenue.
It's, okay, and I apologize, I'm having a little difficulty hearing. Is that for the quarter year or is that the whole year?
That's the whole year.
230,000?
221,653.
All right. All right, thank you.
Mr. Woodhead, I just want to clarify one thing. In the RFP that was during our discussions back in May, it was decided that yard waste would be picked up by the curbside hauler.
Correct.
So just for clarification, in our, from the minutes, we've discussed this when we talked about the limited hours at the transfer station. It was, as you said, for the bulky items, but we also had allowed for yard waste. But the thought was, well, that would have been anything that was extra not picked up from the curbside, because moving forward with option 1 or option 2, yard waste is just assumed or implied that it would be collected curbside. Is that fair?
And that's how I took it. I just took it that we were going to be doing yard waste pickup curbside, and it wasn't going to be part of the transfer station operations.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I told them to take care of it, because they will be paying twice for yard waste.
Right. I think we were very generous with the discussion. I think it was 10 bags or something per week, 10 bags per week for yard waste for collection. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Woodhead. Any further comments, questions from councilors? So I do want to just reiterate what you're saying on the sticker price. If we are to look at option 2, bear with me. We have less space up here. So I'm sorry, I have a lot of papers. The sticker price, it's $235 plus or minus. This is really kind of a guess. It's a for lack of a better term, it's a guess. And so it is a bit risky because if we underestimate that, the town would be responsible for picking up the difference on any of those operation and maintenance costs. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, that is. And that's why it was just an estimate, because until if you do go with option 2, until we get the RFPs in, they won't know the real cost of what they're going to charge to run the transfer station, what the real cost is for the septic operator, what the real cost is for the rentals of the open top containers, and plus the hauling, how much it's going to cost. And then we can estimate how much tonnage that we're going to be putting in there.
Right. So if we were to consider option 1, would they be providing us some pricing for the typical bulky items that normally get disposed of at the transfer station?
Yeah, because we mirrored imaged the Middletown's contract. They had an exhibit A. It was like 3 pages long with everything that you could think of that was price per item. So like a mattress or a couch or a lamp or a desk. So they had a price associated with that. And that was the cost that was going to cost the resident if they wanted to bring it curbside, and they just pay the contractor price.
Okay.
For us.
All right. So under option 1, the curbside cost and any of those bulky waste costs, everything would be provided to us, so we would make an informed decision.
Yes.
Option 2, it's a bit more risky for the town because the costs and things are still uncertain because it's going to be based on usage.
It is.
Okay.
And we're still going to have that option in if you go with option 2, we're still going to have the option with option 1, still with the itemized list available for someone who still wants to bring a curbside and don't want to bring it to the transfer station. So there is going to be two options still available for our residents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Woodhead.
Mr. Woodhead, could you speak directly into the microphone? They can't hear you online.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no further questions or comments at this time. Anything else from council? Okay, I am, do we want to have a motion or do you want me to open it up for comments? Open it up for comments. I do want to remind everyone to state your name and address for the town clerk. Tonight's discussion is really based on option 1 or option 2. It's not about closing the transfer station or keeping the transfer station open. It's really comments of reflecting option 1 or option 2 are what's on tonight's agenda. So I just want to remind everyone. So with that, I will open it up to anyone who'd like to speak. You can come on up to the podium. And again, name and address for the town clerk. Yeah, and apparently we need you to speak directly into the microphone.
That's fine. I have my comments written for distribution to the town as well. I unfortunately was not aware of the option 1-2 selection, but I have a short statement.
Sir, name and address, please.
Yes, sorry. My name is Paul Fredette. I'm at 213 Ethel Drive, Portsmouth, and my wife Donna and I are attending tonight. I find that if we were to remove this facility, which I consider to be quite effective, I think it's insulting as a taxpayer that was just had an increased contribution of 13.4% on taxes, and I've not changed anything related to my property. This is quite stunning to me. My wife Donna and I have been concerned about the transfer station for some time and decided that any official that decides for removal of the transfer station will never get our vote again. And I will also I will keep track of this and make others informed of that decision, of that information. I've been a longtime resident of Portsmouth, and I see this as a bit selfish to remove one thing that I like most about living in Portsmouth. The existence of a competitor to an alternative trash pickup scheme seems a truly un-American idea and leaves the taxpayers exposed to uncontrolled rate increases. There are plenty of other concerns. That I hope are exposed at tonight's hearing, but I have experience attending town hearings and have not considered them town listenings. I have read the council member Levesque's editorial implying the transfer station as antiquated. Something that works, gentlemen, is not successfully for a long period of time is not called antiquated, it's called effective. I find the other points in the article somewhat laughable and lacking credibility, but that's a personal opinion. I suppose that the extra work on the staff would allow us to remove a staff position should we actually remove the station. I started a successful business in Portsmouth adjacent to the corporate park in 1989. I've never had an issue with the facility ever, and I've used it successfully on a weekly basis. Please share this with the rest of the town. Thank you for your consideration and time, and I'll submit my comments to the secretary.
John Pimentel, 62 Independence Court, lifetime resident of Portsmouth. I should state here, just so that everyone knows, basically what I do for a living is I negotiate contracts, and fairly successfully, actually. This is insanity. Basically, when you come forward with a contract, what we should have in front of us is an exact price from a company, the exact charges that they will give you, For instance, there's some details here. They're telling you bundle out. Anyone who's ever tried to clean up their yard and tie the trash and branches into bundles will know very quickly that this is just not going to work. And I have to tell you, for those of you who may like tortilla pickup, you're on the wrong side of the game. Everyone has a vested interest in keeping the transfer station because what you're going to lose is your leverage. Bottom line is, once a transfer station is gone, it's gone. What happens to the people who have pickup, all of a sudden, their rates go up. If you don't believe me, I suggest you look at your cable bills. For years, we've been trying to get a second cable company in here, and Cox won't let them in because they know damn well exactly what will happen. The rates will plummet. Look at your phone company, look at your phone bills. You're probably paying less for a basic phone bill today than you paid 10 years ago because there are so many phone companies out there that they have to compete. And what they're basically doing is taking away the competition. No one gains from this. Wait, someone is gaining, we just don't know who. I suggest you take a close look at your newspapers, their names are there, and see who wrote articles in favor of it and see who's got an exact price. If they're going to do this, then I say let them stand up, put it out in writing, guarantee the price, guarantee the percent increase, guarantee exactly what it is, and then put their name on the bottom of it. Thank you.
I will allow you to come up and speak. So far, we've had two folks speak, and neither one has discussed anything or said anything about option one or option two. And it's not that your comments, if you will let me finish, a lot of what you're discussing tonight or wanting to discuss tonight was very well, a lot of this was discussed back in May. There was a lot of discussion in favor of the transfer station, keeping it open. And this council did have a lot of discussion and deliberation back in May, and it was a 4-3 vote to move forward with the RFP. We do not have exact prices. We are not negotiating a contract tonight. What we are looking for is clarification in order to issue an RFP to see what the numbers are. The councils cannot make a decision to move forward to do anything unless we have better information. The only way we're going to get that information is to put out an RFP and see what the cost would be from a hauler to do curbside collection. That's what we're trying to do with the RFP. Whether you agree with it or do not agree with it, that is the intent of the RFP. The RFP is for us to be able to get a contractor to commit to a price for curbside collection and to commit to pricing for these various items that would be considered bulky waste, which would be an additional cost for curbside pickup. That's why we're here. That's what we're trying to do. We're not voting tonight to keep the transfer station open or to close the transfer station. That's not what we're here to decide tonight. I know you think that's what it is. I don't know where you're getting that. The item that we're discussing is there's two options. It's about the curbside collection for bulky waste or keeping the transfer station as an option for bulky waste and trying to come up with that price for an RFP. We're just trying to get pricing information. Again, the transfer station is currently under contract until June of 2025. If we are to move forward, one way or the other, we need better information. We want to eliminate the risk. We want to get a better cost. What we are aware of is that there are 4 or 5 different curbside vendors in the town, and they all charge different pricing. And so, yes, if we could get one collector, and again, all of this stuff was discussed.
Why fix what's not?
I am not going to take shouting from the audience. Okay, we've already had that discussion. Okay, I will allow you to speak give us all the courtesy, do not yell. Now, I believe another gentleman wanted to speak first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, I want to give everybody the opportunity.
Mr. President, could I make a point of personal privilege? The gentleman from Ethel Drive indicated that he was questioning my integrity, or he had reason to question my integrity. Ethel Drive is a road or an area that I used to walk through when I was a kid to go down to the beach. All right, I've been here all my life. I'm sorry, if you all want to mumble, fine, but I'm just telling you. I am asking people not to attack my integrity. The second man said that whoever has a financial interest in this should stand up and let themselves be known. I don't know anyone who is participating at all in this who has a financial interest, other than all of us as citizens of the town of Portsmouth. I would appreciate it, quite frankly. I have a fairly long period of time of public service, and I would appreciate it if you would just give me the credit that my integrity should not be questioned.
So I would ask folks, if you're gonna come up, tonight is not the night to argue about whether or not the transfer station is gonna stay open or close it. I would really want you to focus your comments on option 1 or option 2. That's why we're here under and again, the Open Meetings Act, we need to stay on topic. And you are allowed to speak, you are allowed to have your comments, but as counselors, our decision or our requirement is to make a decision based on option 1 and option 2. And that is what's on our agenda, and that's what we will be making our decision on tonight. So.
My name's Stephen McDonald. I live at 124 Old Mill Lane. And first of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you up there for your service to our town. You're taking a task on that's quite difficult. The issue between 1 or 2, 2 would keep the transfer station open for bulk pickup, if I'm correct in that thinking, correct? I would go with that option for 2 simple reasons. The first one is if you're having a bulk pickup on the street, I'm concerned with things being left there on a lengthy period of time. I live in a neighborhood, unfortunately, that a lot of people use other sources. They don't use the transfer station, and they'll put things out there. And sometimes I don't know what the reason why, but their bulk items stay there. So that's really my point is we can't have trash being left all over. So keep that transfer station open temporarily for bulk pickup. The second thing is it will allow someone like me who may have something like a large refrigerator, bring it myself, and I don't have to worry about kids in the neighborhood tipping that refrigerator over. And so the second one would be a safety issue. So I would urge you to go along with that. And I also want to thank you for the decision you guys made in relation to I know I'm not supposed to talk.
Okay.
Let's try to stay on the straight and narrow. Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Good evening. My name is Betty Ann Check, and I live at 120 Roger Williams Court. And I thank you for considering all of this. I also request that you sort of pardon us for trying to catch up with your actions. Many of us kind of realized about options 1 or 2, but I know you've spent a lot of effort and energy with getting to that point, but we're trying to catch up with you. Please think of our consideration that way. The point I want to make is This town serves several sectors. The major sector is for education, very, very important. Other sectors, for example, are the people who like Sandy Point Beach. And their mother, so I implore you this evening to please consider the sector that is represented here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, can you lower that?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna help you out, sir. Can you lower that? mic? Or pick them up?
I think we're all set.
My name is Colonel John Vickers, and I live at 50 Ann Hutchinson Court. And since 1980, when we built our house, we live it. So I have a question for Captain Wiener. A couple of questions. I guess. On that RFP, how many pickup points are you going to list? Are you going to list 4,800 or are you going to list 7,000? How many is that going to be?
Within the, and Brian will correct me if I'm wrong, but within the RFP, it'll be up to the contractor who's going to bid on that. RFP is request for proposals.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. In that RFP, we would lay out the streets that would have to be serviced, and it would be up to the contractor to tell us how they're going to service those residences that are identified in the streets that they would service.
So that would be like on a given street, all the residences on that street?
Well, yes, if the residence is going to have curbside pickup, then all the residences would have to be picked up. I apologize, Colonel, if I'm not tracking with you.
I just was wondering, I mean, if you were going to put on RFP and probably tell the contractor, I mean, it's going to make a big difference perhaps on the unit price you get back in. If you say we're going to have 4,000 people in either one contract, or if we're going to have 7,000, I would think that would make a difference.
Well, now I'm tracking. Yes, absolutely. That's this is one of the things that we have been working on for the better part of a year and a half, is to identify how many households are eligible. There's a little over 7,000 residences that would be eligible for curbside pickup. We know that there's a little over 2,200 people that are adamant in their use of the transfer station. I don't know that we could mandate that every single household will use curbside pickup. So I believe we're going with a number of about 5,000 is what we're looking at for the purpose of the RFP.
Speaking from my household of one, and for my daughter, who also has a very steep driveway, this short, it would be very hard for me to take one of the containers, holding on to the walker, because I like last Monday night, I spent in the emergency room down at the hospital, but I fell over inside my own house, holding on to one of them. Anyway, pulling one of those things up in good weather, let alone in icy weather or snow on the driveway and things like that when my day comes up. So I just want to please the town council to remember it's going to be like that for a single person lives alone, and not even just a handicap person. I mean, it will be the same figure for an elderly widow or widow. All those people that are storing us so much anymore.
Colonel, I totally agree with you and understand, and we did try to address that in the RFP. So the RFP has a council inside that does direct that whoever bids on this would have to make, there would have to be a procedure to assist people who cannot get their bins to the curb.
Will that plus next month or not?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, sir.
Will that also, I haven't been talking to this in very well. Would that be an extra price for that homeowner?
No, sir.
Oh, well, anyway, in general, being a town council member is tough. And you spend a lot of hours on looking over costs and everything else. So thank you for all you do. I'm not so sure about the RFP, but thank you for all you do.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Nancy Zitka, 11 Schaefer Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. I know this is a very contentious subject, and it's actually raised my blood pressure quite a bit since I heard about option A or B, because quite honestly, neither of them are acceptable for me. Both of them will not accommodate my needs. I live on a 2/3 of an acre lot. We've lived there for 23 years. We've invested a lot in landscaping. We've improved the value of our property and our neighbors. We've given homes to wildlife, which has value too. And we've always taken care of our own property and taken pride in doing so. I can't even tell you how many trips to the dump I personally make loading my Lexus RX 350. And I can assure you that 8 barrels doesn't make a dent in what someone like my kind of property has. Not only that, it will cost considerably more than what I'm already paying now. I have my husband is a sticker, as do I. What you're suggesting is for people like me, we pay to have pickup, but then if we want the added value of trying to deal with some more of our yard waste, we pay another $270, which I deeply resent. One of my neighbors, who has a fairly mature property as well, uses Waste Management, pays $45 a month for service. He has, I can't even tell you how many trash barrels sitting out on the side of the yard. Many of them, his yard waste, half the time isn't picked up. Those 8 barrels sit there for sometimes 2 weeks. And he's called Waste Management. He says they keep changing their procedures. And now he's been informed that he has to inform them when he's going to put out yard waste. So as the first gentleman mentioned when he got up to speak, things change. And when you give control to a company to manage everything and take away our control and our ability to make our own decision. And by the way, it would have been nice, speaking of making decisions before you made yours, to send a survey out to residents of Portsmouth to ask them what they need. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Woodhead, could you just clarify something? He's special privilege, I called him up. We did put out a public comment notification about the curbside, the RFP, the white paper.
Correct.
So we did a survey. So I think when Mr. Woodhead already went through this when he first spoke. Ms. Woodhead, could you just repeat the process that got us to this point? So it was back prior to our May meeting, there was a process where we put out for comments.
Correct.
We posted the information.
So in March, on March 14th, on March 13th, the town administrator let everyone know that there was we developed a white paper for all these comments that the council discussed. There were 7 options, and we put it out for comment. We left it up on the website for public comment for 30 days. And then after those 30 days, we presented to the council all the comments, and there was, I think there was a total of 56 comments about the transfer station and about the white paper. And that was the first question that we had on our May 22nd meeting was if the council wanted us to move forward with the development of an RFP for curbside collection, and the answer was yes. So that's what we did.
Thank you, Mr. Woodhead. Okay.
Hi, Jim Kranz, 54 Hicks Lane. So I'll trade my ignorance. I have appreciation what you're trying to do with the RFP to, I think, get an evaluation so you understand the landscape. Just a couple of dumb questions. Part of what you're trying to do today relative to options for the bulky waste is that something you're looking to decide in advance to issuing the RFP? And I guess what I'm wondering is why couldn't that be possibly factored into the RFP, option A, option B? Then also aspects of, I'm wondering if how binding is the RFP, if this is not really going to be invoked until 2025 mid-year. And then I guess also will the RFP be made available for the public to read and look at it as well?
Yes, all good questions. Could you just go back to your first one, just so I want to make sure I heard it correctly. Your first question?
Yeah, so the RFP, part of what my impression is you're looking at a couple different bulky waste options.
Option one or an option two, yes.
I call them.
These were for clarifications. I know this was what was discussed back in May. And so during those deliberations, when we gave direction, as Mr. Woodhead was trying to craft the RFP with our consultant, this was one of those items that became a gray area, and he wanted further clarification. This is all going into the RFP. So we haven't made any decisions yet. What we're trying to decide is what would be in the best interest of getting pricing. What's the best course of action here to do bulky waste as a curbside collection, or option two, curbside collection, but also keep the transfer station open on a limited basis for diversion items.
Okay,
So
I guess the idea being that if one option is extremely dominant over the other, then you probably wouldn't be having this discussion, right? So, and I was just wondering, is it possible, again, I'm parading my ignorance here, the RFP couldn't be capturing both options and requesting pricing out on both of those options and then subsequently?
And that's kind of what we're gonna, this is the kind of comments we're looking for tonight, to see if that is something that we should take into consideration and get pricing on both options.
Okay.
And so the way it works is it's a public, it's an RFP. When it's presented, it's out for public. And then prior to this council, once that information comes back, before the council can make a decision, that information is all put in a backup and it goes on the agenda, and then we discuss it at a council meeting. So right now, we haven't made any decisions.
Right, you're trying to
get
the information so you can make an informed decision with the public being part of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. President, may I?
But I just want to, so you.
Sorry, I
wait a
thought
second.
these were easy questions.
No,
It's okay.
They are easy questions. They're all
They're
good.
good questions.
Let me just finish. They're all good questions. They're all good questions, and I want to make sure that I've answered your three questions.
I'm happy with the first.
So your second was, will it be made available?
I think, yeah,
No, that
it'd be binding.
Third question?
My second.
Second.
Will
So
it
go
be
back to your
valid to
second.
My
start?
second was just the pragmatics that if you're going for an RFP, I'm not sure the period of time you're expecting to get it out, get a reply, gestate on that, et cetera, under a decision with the public. But the idea is, will the quotes made so-called keep their feet to the fire so that come 2025, it's still viable, or is somebody going to come back and say, well, you know,
No,
time
that's,
has elapsed?
yeah, excellent question. Just so you know, it's actually quite a lengthy process in order for, if we do decide to move forward with curbside. There's a process for them securing the number of barrels and all that stuff. It takes close to 12 months. So that's why we need to understand what we're doing. This RFP would go out, I'm gonna, Mr. Rayner, right after the first of the year. Is that what we're
So
doing?
you're saying you have a deadline, you need to come to a decision in advance to make this happen by 2025?
We have a contract.
We have a contract with our
But
current
we could
transfer
renew it.
station. Let me one at a time. We have a contract that's currently set to expire in 2025 with the transfer station. And again, those costs are fixed until 2025. If if something doesn't move, if we don't move forward with curbside, okay, and things stay the way they are, we still have to go through the process and negotiate an RFP for the transfer station but here's the problem. We know that, folks. We absolutely know that, and we've been down this road. The problem is that those costs are also going up, and the number of service providers, it continues to diminish. We only had, was it 2 vendors the last go around?
We had 3 vendors.
Vendors.
I know that.
But again, we don't have all the answers. We're trying to, the longest lead time is if we are to move forward with a hybrid. That's what we decided to do back in May. So we're trying to go through the process and get the information, because if we do move forward, it's a long lead time. Yes, so the pricing would be valid. We would be locking in for a contract, and there's a process. So yes, we're not trying to back into an answer. We're trying to get the best information so we can make an informed decision.
Okay.
I don't know what it is right now. I'll tell you.
So, very good question, and I know both aren't going to believe this, but this is part of the process by which we understand the concerns of the community with regard, as Nancy pointed out, bulk waste, yard waste. As the gentleman pointed out about access to it, we're trying to give that information back to you as to how we're planning on assisting. The proposed request for proposal is not locked in stone. You may not feel comfortable with this, but I can tell you all the rest of the council people are listening. All right, I may have certain opinions, but I will listen. Okay? Nothing is written in stone. If the request for proposal comes back, it will be more or less a measuring stick as to whether or not there's any place to go forward. But it will, I hope, incorporate concerns that we have heard before tonight and that we are hearing tonight. And again, excellent question. Okay, thank you.
So thanks, and again, I'm hogging up the time, so these people are crawling at. But the third question was, would the RFP be available? And I think your indication was positive, it'll be available in advanced review. I'm now trying to sneak in a fourth.
All right, we only have 2 minutes.
But you
have 2 minutes left.
You're losing your table.
Just kidding.
You're about to.
Oh, man, we're going over the.
Yeah, we're losing.
All right,
Thank you. Nicely done, Bob. So the idea being that you also mentioned if you were the status quo.
Okay, we'll see, we're going to start to get off topic. So
I'm just saying,
I know.
an RFP for that
It's
is
not on the table yet.
okay.
There is no RFP.
Not for that yet.
Would it be dusting off a pre-existing one, so not so difficult?
There's a high likelihood of that.
Okay, that's it.
But we're not inventing the wheel.
Mr. President, if I could just make a quick comment to your comment on the cost is known and fixed for the transfer station. It is not.
No, if we go out for the curbside, what we're trying to get is pricing.
Fixed cost for that.
Fixed cost for this. Yeah, we don't have any future pricing for the transfer station.
Yeah, well, we do. We know that the tipping fee is going to go up by $9 from RIRAC. That's going to raise the sticker fee. And because we're attempting to get the sticker fee along with the fiscal year, it will be an 18-month sticker when January rolls around. So rather than paying for your transfer station sticker in January of 24 and then again in January of 25, the transfer station sticker for January 24 will go through June 30, 2025, so that the fiscal year lines up, which makes us being able to pay the bills easier.
Thank you, Mr. Okay. Yes.
Bob Collins, 287 Mill Lane, Portsmouth. I'm not very good at this. Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you all for being here also. Option 1 and option 2, or option A and option B. It's got to be an option C. It can't be just what you people decide. Okay, think about this. Not too long ago, we all got something in the mail saying, we're gonna switch your electric unless you opt out. Why did we have to do that? Why couldn't we, if we wanted to jump aboard, opt in? That didn't make sense to me. Now, next, by 2025, all our septics have to be up to par. I had 2 cesspools. I gotta do 2. More money out of my pocket. Whether I get a loan to do it or I pay for it out of pocket. It's coming out of me. I didn't make that decision. My septic was working fine. But somebody else made that for us. It seems like we're losing. Every time we turn around, we're losing. You understand where I'm coming from? And I think a lot of other people feel the same way in this room. Because every time we turn around, it's not something that we want to happen. But somebody else is making that happen for us, and we have no control over it. Yeah, we could vote you out. That's probably gonna happen. No. Could be. And then there might be somebody else in there making another decision. But you know, when you say you put these options out and you tell people, I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't hear one word about this until a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't very happy. I like the dump. I preferred to call it the dump. My mother called it the transfer station. You couldn't say the dump in front of her. Sorry, Mom. But anyway, do you understand how we feel? You know, option 1 and 2. Come on, there's got to be an option 3. Keep it open. Keep it the way it is. How much more can it cost? And to tell you the truth, my taxes went up. And we just came out of COVID. We're in the worst economy in my lifetime. And my taxes went up over $100,000. My property value went up over $100,000. Do you think I could sell that property for what they got appraised at in this economy? I really don't think so. I wouldn't want to get a mortgage for that with the interest rates that are out there now. That's crazy. I mean, then again, I'm probably not making $300,000 a year either. And a lot of other people in this room aren't either. But we got to come up with that money because other people say that we have to do this. And that, my friends, is something you people have to think about. You're making decisions for other people out there. Why don't you take a vote on it? Why don't you there's going to be a special election. Why couldn't it have been put out for a vote? Let the people decide. You guys got elected by the people for the people, am I correct?
Yes, you are.
One more. By the people for the people.
Yeah, I want to respond. Mr. Collins, I just want to thank you for your comments. And some of your points there are the reflection or based on actions by the council. The council did not vote to have your cesspools replaced. That was the state of Rhode Island. That was DEM. We did not, you know.
Okay, all right. So that's one thing.
Well, but that's one expensive thing, right? You know, so I just want to keep, we get blamed for a lot of things. So I just want to make sure that, you know, the cesspools was not a decision.
But wasn't that only in areas near the water?
That's statewide. It's not just for.
Middletown's not doing it.
If you have cesspools.
Middletown's not doing it.
Sir, if you have cesspools, it's a mandatory phase out for cesspools. Doesn't matter what town you're in. If you're a cesspool and you.
Okay, I'll check on that.
You can check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
President, a couple of things, sir. I don't disagree that it might upset you. From 1954, when I was born, through almost all of, I swam in the cold, all right? And people's cesspools were dripping out into the cold all the time. And eventually somebody said, hey, maybe that's not a good idea. If you go to any of the beaches along the coast here, you would have closed beaches. Why? Because somebody's septic off of Portsmouth Park. off of Epping Drive-
Mr. President, I'm going to pull this back into the agenda item, please. I appreciate your concerns about the
All
cesspool.
I'm saying is, how about thinking about the people
Okay, well,
instead of making decisions
is he
for
right?
the people?
I just wanted to clarify that the pool
No,
is not.
Bob Wadaker, 31 Ann Avenue, Portsmouth. Some of the things that were spoken to already, I wasn't coming up to do, but I asked that you say that this was discussed back in May, but with any of the searches that I did online for that agenda does not exist out there. The only article I could find was an East Bay, Rhode Island News article dated September 29th about the subject. So I asked maybe that we could put a spot on the town's website that has the RFPs left up there and some facts such as how many households will be in the RFP and what other items come up over time, like as you had suggested, that we re-up the similar contract that we have to keep the transfer station open and try to do some apples to apples comparisons so that everyone who came here who is interested in this subject has an informed opinion about it. And that we keep that information up there for discussion so we don't have to go through a lot of this back and forth and make everybody's life a lot easier. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment. It was on our agenda for May 22nd. I don't know if you.
It's not up there anymore.
It is.
It's well, you might have got to make it a little easier to find.
If you go to the town's main webpage, click on agenda and minutes, and then you just scroll down, it's alphabetical order. The town council's at the
but
bottom.
This is a rather big topic. As you see signs around the town, I would think that you would make it upfront for this particular issue so that all of that information is available. Because the RFPs could be in one place, along with the minutes, along with other information that you gather, so that we can also make an informed.
They are, it's all on the agendas, agenda and minutes page. If you go to the town council, you'll see it on 522. If you like
But
it,
you do a search, you don't find it.
because we don't Google well. Just town agendas don't. I'm sorry.
Very well, very
You know,
well.
it's a bad thing.
I understand, but if you did put something where it's a high, this is not your normal back and forth. This is a more heated, and I'm not here to make it heated. I should.
Understood.
Wrong words, but
Understood.
I think we should keep it so that everybody can find it. Thank you.
Okay.
To the person's point, it's true that we've had public deliberations on these items over time, last May, last October. But I appreciate it that it can be difficult for a member of the public who sees a sign on the highway and says, what's that about, and tries to find out about it, to go back in time and try to find it without necessarily knowing the magic keywords to search in our less than lovely vendor provided agenda system, which I don't love myself. I'm wondering if there isn't a way to collect, if it might be possible to collect, going back to say 2018, when we went to pay as you throw, and put in one place on the transfer station page of the website links to all of these, to the history of how we got here, so that You don't have to go searching on your own.
Got that, Barbara?
Something that might be doable, Mr. Rayner?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. President, can
It's a great comment and we'll get working on it right away.
While you're all here, there is going to be a Bay Newport wishbone argument coming up that all of you, I'm sure, are going to participate in.
We need to stay on.
So you know. Oh, it was only a second.
I know. Close the door. Don't close the door. Next.
Hello,
Good evening.
Siobhan Thurston, 664 Union Street and 660 Union Street. My husband's family has been here since 1683. We've lived in the house since 1876. I think there's a large portion of the community you're forgetting. 10 bags of weeds are not going to cut it. And then in March, it was determined by this gentleman that a survey was done for 30 days and 56 respondents. That is not a survey in any scientific. I thought I'd ever heard about it twice since I own 2 different properties. May, is it my understanding that it has been predetermined there will be no more there will be curbside pickup and no more dump, compact, or transfer station drop-offs? Is that my understanding that was determined in May?
No.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand that right now we're doing bulky only. Option 1 and option 2.
Really, we're starting to mix apples and oranges. So what was
It's not a
discussed,
laughing matter, sir,
trust me, I have been dealing with this for a long time.
as I have.
And if, from the May meeting, I'm a transfer station guy. I've used the transfer station for my entire adult life. I've lived in town for almost 50 years. So I've grown accustomed to going to the transfer station. Okay, we had a very spirited discussion about it back in May, and we've had spirited discussions about the transfer station every time it comes up. So it's not a laughing matter to me. It's a very serious matter. But what I'm trying to state tonight is we have not made any decisions. We are trying to get the best information in order to make an informed decision. What we decided in May was to move forward with the hybrid RFP. That was so we could get to a point where we can get pricing to see, again, there's 4 or 5 different curbside vendors now, and people pay different rates. And so there's a lot of adverse impacts that come around with multiple vendors driving around town. So a benefit of one vendor is you have less trucks driving up and down the street. You might have, depending on your neighborhood, you might have 3 or 4 trucks drive down the street every other day because they're picking up it's a different vendor. So an advantage to curbside, if you go with one vendor, is you have one vendor and you know which day they're going to be on the street. So really what we're trying to do is capture as much as we can, as much as our wants in the RFP, which is a vendor to service the streets in the town of Portsmouth. We can't guarantee how many houses that are going to be. We know that there's data out there, probably from the 4 or 5 vendors, that each one has X number of clients. So that's up to the vendor. What we're trying to do is come up with what makes the most sense for a resident. If we end up in a curbside situation, how do we maximize that for the user of the curbside? Because we want, if it is a bulky item, we want to get pricing so that if someone knows, if I want to throw out that couch, it's X. So really what we're trying to do is just put that out there now. and see what that pricing comes back for a curbside vendor. Then we have to decide, is that good, bad? We don't know. We really don't know. We also have to understand the situation, and it's not on the agenda. We have to decide what the situation is at the transfer station and going forward with the transfer station. So I really can't go down that road because it's not on the agenda, but I can tell you that we're under contract. It's going to remain open until 2025 at a minimum. And we will make the decisions as we get the information. But any decision we make, it's going to be in public. It's
There
going
will
to be.
be no decision tonight on option one or option.
No. We have to decide what we want to do, option 1, 2, or a combination of option 1, 2, as the gentleman stated earlier, because we need to put the RFP out.
Right.
We haven't put the RFP out to solicit any pricing yet. So that's what this is for. This is just to get information. It does not lock us into a contract. It would be potentially the basis of a contract if that were the decision, but we're not there yet.
So you have continuously said 5 to 6 contractors. Your gentleman here says there are 3.
No,
That bid on it.
That-
That bid on it. My correction.
no,
Different. So
So.
there's
excuse me.
different vendors in town. I don't know, there's 4 or 5 different curbside vendors right now in town.
So I called them.
Okay.
I paid $250. And my options were between $800 and $1,200. I think that's too expensive. When I haul my own stuff, I am also very, very concerned about a population that's a little bit older than me, not being able to negotiate those big bins, and you say they will help you for an extra fee. I don't know about you, but I'm on a fixed income. I think the colonel here is on a fixed income. That's something that really needs to be taken care of now. So the PFP cannot.
See, it's not easy. They're gonna heckle you too.
But I have some thoughts. The RFP cannot be accepted 1 or 2 today because we don't have the information. I listened to you very intently and I couldn't write fast enough with all your data. I think it behooves this community to hear all of it and to have it written out. Sir, I did not get a survey. Why don't you ask me how I use it? Why don't you ask the large consumer how they use it? Also, I've driven down the roads. I'm on a Union Street, sort of halfway, gets to see most of the town. It's trashy. The animals, and I have all sorts of animals, right? They tear it apart and there's trash everywhere. I pick it up because it's disgusting. I don't want those bins. I can't take them down 200 feet of driveway, gravel driveway. You have not given me options. I am here because I heard about it the last town council meeting and I was rattled. How did I not know about this before? Because the survey wasn't a survey. You didn't ask my question.
Then it was a survey, just because you didn't get it.
Ask who did it.
No, but you keep doing this like it's some phony thing.
Well, it
wasn't.
is.
We were
It
trying
was
to get
7,000
information.
plus community, 2,200 used the compactor and 56 responded. And I know there are terrible responses on surveys, but that wasn't a scientific.
Believe it or not, this is a survey of the town of Portsmouth.
Mr. Lefebvre was
all
not
right.
a survey.
Let's hold the comments.
I thank you very much for allowing me to say my piece because I'm entitled as a taxpayer. whose taxes have gone up a lot. And I just want you to hear my piece.
Mr. Roberts, just before you speak, if you don't mind, I just want to clarify. I think this seems to be, maybe it is or isn't, but I think there seems to be some miscommunication or misunderstanding of the 10 bag rule. And I know Mr. Woodhead put a lot of information out there when he did it. The 10 bags is a weekly pickup for the spring and the fall, and bi-weekly during the summer when we're not typically doing yard cleanup, and it's just most of us are doing, grass, if you're doing grass. So it's 10 per week. It's not a 10 cap limit and that's it. That's all you get for the year. So if you're doing more than 10 bags per week, God bless you. That's a lot of work.
Mr. President, just because you have informed people to date what we've done, can you just clarify in your mind what a hybrid system is going to be? I think people would like to know that.
Option two.
My understanding of a hybrid system and the directions that we gave the DPW back in May was to go off, consult with the waste consultant, if you will, to come up with a plan that would keep the transfer station as well as curbside pickup in some way or fashion. What we've whittled it down to here at this point, if we pick option one, is it still going to be a hybrid, or is that going to eliminate the transfer station? That's a big question that I see with these two options. Second one obviously keeps the transfer station open for 2 days a week. And I don't think most people understood that that's what had been negotiated back in May. Now, there are 4 councilors here that use curbside pickup right now. There are 3 of us that use the transfer station. It passed 4-3, so we have to work within these parameters. However, we've already been out to bid twice. In 2017, the numbers came in, 3 people bid on it. 1 person's bid was thrown out for inaccuracies, and we decided the numbers weren't fair enough to people to go to curbside. Last bid came back in 2022. We had 3 bids. The low bidder, as I recall, was like $311 per year. However, you still had to buy orange bags. You still had to pay X amount of money to get rid of a toaster oven or a refrigerator, something put at the curb, okay? Those numbers weren't acceptable to this council. I was not on the council at that time for those numbers. So this is our 3rd try here to try and get the right numbers. I still don't know what the sweet spot is. What does the number have to be to get people that are paying $800 to $1,200 right now to come down? Because certainly anybody that's using a transfer station, their prices are going to go up. So we're actually trying to bring the prices down for people that aren't using the compact station. And these 2 options right here, I'm not really sure if they both leave the transfer station open at least 2 days a week. I think that we're going to call it a hybrid. So somebody could give me the definition of what we're trying to achieve here.
I think I'll add a little bit to that, if I may. When we discussed this back in May, I think there were some issues with the RFP and the proposals we received. I think one of the contentious points was the pay-as-you-throw bags. We opted to not award the contract at that time, extend the transfer station, and now we're trying to determine the path forward. The hybrid solution that we envisioned was a solution where we would have 2 enterprise funds, one that would operate the curbside pickup for the entire town, and then a separate enterprise station that people could opt into to buy a transfer station sticker and continue using the transfer station for bulky, for disposal of bulky items. I think that the issue on the table right now between option 1 and option 2 is that option 1 is well defined. We can clearly quantify the number of eligible households that our contractor would be bidding on, so they can assign a number to it and give us a proposal for that work. I think with option 2, the issue is that if you have an RFP that's providing curbside pickup for a certain number of eligible households, it is impossible to quantify how many people are going to want to participate in the enterprise fund for bulky waste disposal at the transfer station, in addition to the curbside pickup. So that is the issue that we're discussing right now, to figure out what we want to include in the RFP so that our staff has clear direction on how to go so that we can get proposals. Getting an RFP, putting out an RFP and getting proposals is how the town does business, and it's how we award contracts for everything we do in town. It's done in a public process. Everybody gets to review the RFP. We vote on it before it ever goes out. Until we actually award a contract, we really don't know what the future of trash pickup or trash disposal in the town of Portsmouth will look like. Like Kevin has said before, the transfer station will be open until June of 2025. Sometime between now and June of 2024, we have to figure out what we're going to happen, what's going to happen, so that we have an option for trash disposal. I think the one point that came up in May, and we discussed to a certain extent, that hasn't come up tonight yet, that I think is important to reiterate, is that the transfer station that we currently have, it might be effective. I know a lot of people really like it. It was built a long time ago. I'm not going to try to guess at when, because I don't remember.
72.
Oh, 72. All right. It was built in 72. Back then, the town of Portsmouth had, I think, less than half of the number of households
9,000
than we currently have.
people.
The problem that we as a council up here are trying to solve is that we have a transfer station that is too small for our town, cannot accommodate all our households. So we have the majority of households paying a lot of money for curbside pickup, much more than they would in another town that does offer municipal curbside pickup. And we have a decent number of the town choosing to still operate, to still use the transfer station. It's a difficult problem to solve. We have a transfer station that cannot provide trash disposal for the entire town, and we need to figure out a path forward. And we discussed this, and the next step for us to take is to get RFPs so we can have an educated discussion and figure out what is the best solution for all of Portsmouth. And we really need to make a decision for what is in the best interest of the town as a whole, in terms of providing the necessary services for our town and doing it in a fiscally responsible way and providing the most cost-effective service we can for our residents.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Sally. And so that's the definition of a hybrid.
Mr. Roberts, 80 on Mount Avenue.
Peter, yeah, to pick it up, there you go.
That's good.
Peter Roberts,
Somebody else.
80 on Mount Avenue. Oh, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Trying to make notes.
Well, the one issue that did come out was something about, we didn't get any notifications what was going on with this. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to the website to look for something that's going to affect me like this. I want a registered letter coming from the town.
No.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. Because what's on the website, I'm only going to look when I know something happened. If we don't get any notification, we don't know what happened, we don't go there and look. And we need to know. And the last meeting, the amount of people that were there, you said we're gonna have to put the meeting off and do it at the high school. Did you understand that we were gonna be here to question what you were doing? But it wasn't put on this agenda? You put what you wanted on it. It should have been put on that we could speak about this. You avoided that, just like everything else the town does. Well, that's the way I see it.
Mr. Roberts, I disagree. And let me finish. When we put on the agenda what was on the agenda in May, what was on the agenda at the previous meeting, okay? So we haven't switched the agenda item. We haven't switched. We had this discussion back in May. You were there. You were at the meeting. You heard a lot of the arguments. You probably made, and it's probably on video, you probably spoke.
Yes, I did.
So you know that it was there was a lot of consideration given. Could there have been more? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe, but the word was out. People did show up, people did speak, okay? And, you know, it was a 4-3 vote, so there was a lot of discussion. There's no hidden agenda. You know what happened from the last meeting when there's only room for 100 people at town hall? Yeah, everybody was there because the motivation was save the transfer station, save the transfer station. That, the bulk of that discussion was back in May, not 6 weeks ago.
I think it's gonna come out.
No, because see, here's the thing, the agenda item was for clarification on something that came out of that May meeting. So again, we're not here tonight to decide, and I respect the comments, okay? And we've heard them. And I do understand how some folks feel about the transfer station. I get it, okay? But tonight, we're not here to make a decision tonight about whether or not we're gonna keep the transfer station open. You're not. What, you're not gonna make a decision on the transfer station either.
No, but we could discuss it.
We're here to discuss option 1 and 2. That's what we're gonna vote on.
We need you to understand, who's not getting reelected.
Mr. Roberts, fine, okay? That's fine. That's not why we're here. It's not, I'm not here to decide whether or not I'm gonna get reelected, okay? I'm here to make a decision based on the agenda.
You voted.
I know I voted. I voted to keep it open.
Yes, you did.
Right, but it doesn't matter. At this point, okay, I'm trying to understand and make a decision for if it moves forward, what is in the best interest of the citizens if you're gonna use the curbside. I still haven't given up my feelings for the transfer station. We haven't come to that decision yet, okay? So there's a time and a place for it. This isn't it. I haven't wavered on my decision or what my approach is for the transfer station, but tonight's not that night, and I've said it. And
Anytime you talk about any side of it, you should have both sides speaking.
And you know what? Both sides had an opportunity to speak in May, okay? And go back and look at the video. Both sides did speak. There was discussions. We actually had different discussions that night, but I'm not here to rehash what was the whole discussion that occurred back in May. What we are here tonight is to get clarification on an RFP, which then may allow us to make an informed decision. There will be another discussion at some point about the transfer station. There will be, there has to be, because.
If I may, Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Thank you, Mr. President. We are attempting to get information through an RFP. It reminds me of when the state DEM said, you all got to, in Portsmouth, you've got to get sewers. Nobody wanted sewers. Literally nobody on the council then, most of the public, nobody wanted sewers. But we were being faced with fire. So what did we do? We went and put out an RFP. And everybody in the public assumed that because the council issued an RFP for sewers, that somehow we must want sewers. What happened was, we got bids for a huge amount of money that we were then able to point to and say to the Environmental Protection Agency's own guidelines, it costs too much. We had an issue, it costs too much. And with that in hand, we were able to settle with the DEM and not have sewers. Now, we're going out to RFP, we're going to get numbers. If it comes back that it's going to cost every taxpayer in town $10,000 more a year to have curbside pickup, guess what? We're not getting curbside pickup, period. But what if it costs $1 more per taxpayer? Then guess what? For $1 a year, we're going to. Now, I know it's not going to be 10,000. I know it's not going to be $1. It's going to be somewhere in between. When we get the number, we'll look at it. This whole council will look at it. Public will look at it. We'll have another discussion about what makes sense. I can only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure every member of this council just wants to do what's best for all the people in town. That's all we want. I don't have a personal, I don't care if we keep the train station open or closed, just like I don't care if we pave the roads. But you know what? Paving the roads is good for people of Portsmouth. So we do it. We just do what I think we all care about, doing what's best for people. We can't make any decisions at all unless we have the information in front of us. We have to get an RFP out there to get the information back. And then, yes, we will all be back probably in this room having a discussion about what makes sense for the people of Portsmouth. We can't have that discussion unless we have all the information. That's all we're trying to do. Thank you.
I like the part that you pointed out about the price of septic system. I paid 40,000. You think that was not too much? Really?
I said sewers. I was talking about sewers.
Sewers.
It's a different, I know.
That was an analogy, and I apologize for clouding the issue.
If the sewer's working, it doesn't need to be replaced.
Said I apologize, I even mentioned it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
He's a lot taller than you. If I could,
He's a riser, I think.
if I could just remind everybody to please, if you are up at the podium, to please speak into the microphone as best you can so that folks at home can hear you.
I thought you would go down and do it.
Judy Mallon, 43 Hillside Avenue. Basically, I want to do a lay of the land thing, but I have a question. I've heard this a couple of times, the term eligible household. Can somebody tell me what a not eligible household would be?
Right, Brian will come up and clarify this, but bottom line is when you do the RFP for curbside pickup, you have to determine eligible households for the sake of the RFP. An eligible household is any unit, if it's an apartment unit of 5 units or less, because greater than that, generally they have already dumpsters someplace.
So here's a lay of the land thing. I live on one of Portsmouth's paper roads. It's not paved. They don't plow it in the winter. Hillside Ave, it's on a hill. And I can't imagine if they don't even plow the road that anybody's going to come pick up my trash there. I think there are a number of paper roads in town. I don't know if they're all kind of in my sort of situation. But I don't think I'm alone in terms of being in an orphan in Portsmouth without the paved road that would be so nice to have. So just a lay of the land thing, if you do away with my ability to bring my trash to the transfer station, and I am not in a situation where a truck can come, then along with older folks and other abled folks, there won't be a trash option for my household. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, Walter Bacher, 267 Sandy Point Avenue. Of the two options you're presenting tonight, I would go with the hybrid option. I would go with anything that would help keep the transfer station open. And I think it would be a good idea and would calm people down a lot if you also put out an RFP for the transfer station, keeping things the way they are. Because then people don't feel like they're being railroaded into two options that they don't like either one. And honestly, the thought that came to me, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, I don't see what's wrong with the system the way it is. The people that want to use the transfer station, use the transfer station. The people that want to have their trash picked up, they get their trash picked up. Now, if you want to consolidate that trash pickup into one vendor, instead of 5, because you think that's a better idea, great. But this feels like the beginning of trying to close the transfer station. That's what makes people so upset.
I get that.
And I know you discussed everything in May, but obviously there were people that feel strongly about that weren't even aware the discussion was going on. So maybe you need to take a step back. But I really would urge you to put out an RFP on keeping the transfer station open. Then you can compare apples to apples.
How it feels like the time it goes to transfer station, and I get that. I get that. That's how it feels, and I apologize for that. But that's how it feels. That's not what we're doing tonight, and we may never vote to close the transfer station. We're leading to a point where we're going to make a decision one way or the other. Look, this goes back to at least 2006 on whether to keep the transfer station open. So every year, the town has to put together a budget on how to provide everything to provide: police, fire, transfer station. And so I apologize that it feels like we're trying to do something you don't like, but we're not. We will have another time for another discussion with full information in front of us, hopefully.
Well, if you put out an RFP for keeping things the way they are, I think people would feel a lot calmer about everything.
So we know what it looks like now, although you may look and see on the agenda, I have certain items that I hope tighten up the operation of the transfer station. And it is a fair statement to say that it is possible out of this process that the transfer station would be closed. It's not, you're not paranoid. As part of this process, there are any number of possibilities. Are there 4 votes to do that here? Not right now. I don't know if there are any votes to do that here right now. But when we get the numbers back on the request for proposal, it is possible. So your concern about that is fair.
Hello, my name is Lynn Kushner, 2246 East Main Road. And this won't take long. Except I was just waiting long enough. I figured I would say, ask a question that the lady had already asked, which was something that really stuck with me in the eligible household and what that was. I'm probably in the minority. I don't own a home. I'm a renter. And I want to know how that would affect someone like me who lives in a building, a house that has 4 apartments right on East Main Road. I don't own a home, so how that would affect one person. You know, I guess maybe the landlord would have to decide how to. So anyway, can you restate again what an eligible household is or isn't?
It was 3 units, 5 units.
It has to be at least 5 units? Okay, so it's 4 units. So they would pick up one for that whole house, for the whole 4 apartments? Or the whole thing, not each individual who lives there?
Actually, Brian, you're gonna have to come up
Because if you're gonna pick up for 4 or 5, then the landlord should be paying for that, they're each individual person. So, I don't know, and I get, we're in the minority, I'm sure, because you're talking about, you know, private homes. single homes.
Reassure, we're not going to leave her out.
So that's one concern, how will that work? And, you know, living on East Main Road is a wonderful street, isn't it? And I can imagine with garbage trucks, you know, picking up trash on East Main or West Main, that's going to be beautiful for traffic. So how is that going to impact traffic on the small roads? So that's something that I think I would like you to consider. I love the transfer station. I never thought I'd say that. But it's great. And just one thing, when we were on lockdown with COVID and nobody could go anywhere, there was a place to go. We even did the recyclables at a separate time, just so that I have an opportunity to go out. So,
Okay.
you know, kudos for them, they keep it clean and everything, and even, you know, I'm concerned about the increase to the sticker. But here's the other thing, have you really figured out or going to give us, even at the transfer station, okay, the cost will go up, and those bags are, the trash bags are more expensive than the typical trash bag. But we need to determine, even with the increased cost of the transfer station, is that going to be still less than curbside? That's what we need to know.
That's why we're doing our.
So, thank you.
Man, can I just, let me reassure you, about 80% of the households in this,
70.
we are not going to desert the people who are tenants in this town. That would be, it would be unreasonable, and I can appreciate you being concerned about that. I'm also wondering if the transfer station, this is my opportunity for a little humor, it's going to be challenging the manor house for weddings in the future. Yeah, didn't go over there.
No, it didn't.
Okay. But again, I also had a good friend of mine call me up about the question of West Main Road and East Main Road and trucks going down it. And I was advised by people that basically they do it now and then they'll turn off McCory, they'll turn off something. So it won't be a traffic log jam, as you know, they won't be just doing the main road and blocking everybody up. They'll do it and then they'll cut down one of the feeder roads. And so it won't be as bad as you might think.
But isn't there households or buildings right on Main, on this road? I mean, there's a, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you know, it's like UPS, you know, they'll stop right as on East Main, and then, yeah, so it's the same problem, right? Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
To answer those questions, Bill, in our RFP, we did put early collection on East Main, West Main, Turnpike, and the main thoroughfares, just so we didn't get that rush hour congestion back up. So we did put it in our RFP that would be early pickup.
Hello, my name is Michael Costello. I live at 20 Borden Farm Road. First of all, I want to thank the councilwoman for articulating the problem with the current situation. That was the first that I understood what the problem was that needed to be addressed. So thank you for that. I read the white paper. I was one of the 56 commenters on the white paper.
You have to do this.
I left a lot of comments on the white paper. I was really excited about the white paper and about what it was offering. And I reread the white paper actually just a moment ago in my seat. And what I still failed to find in the white paper was some of the words like close or restrict hours or reduce hours. It said that there would still be multiple days that the transfer station would be open. It didn't seem to indicate that the transfer station would be closed. And I think that that is a lot of the frustration. Although I think for the members of the community, it's really important that we understand and that we argue fairly when we present our opinions. It wasn't a survey. It wasn't supposed to be a survey. It's not the way policy is done in town councils. They put out a proposal. In this case, they put out a white paper, and it's on us to look it up. So for those of you who are comparing this to the electricity situation, this is not the electricity situation. You could maintain the electricity that you had. You could, continue to use Rhode Island Electric. That is not an option necessarily if the transfer station was closed. So not a good comparison to things. But as you are soliciting opinions on our options, option 1 versus option 2, I actually arrived late and I'm not sure which one is which, but the one that has hours for the transfer station, I think would be advisable.
Good evening, Julie Ward, 34 Peggy Lane. I'd like to thank the town council for bringing up the issue that household waste is a municipal issue, as is police care, fire care, harbor master. And if it is in fact a municipal issue, then I think the cost of which we should stop talking about cost per household and sticker price for this and sticker price for that, and put it back in tax rolls where it was 25 years ago, before the town council made the decision to go in and sweep that money out and spend it on other things, and then hit us all with sticker prices. Put it back in the tax roll.
Thank you very much for the comment. Just want to clarify. The transfer station operation was on the tax rolls. In 2006, August 19th, if memory serves, there was a so-called tent meeting, you may remember, was had, at which the town budget was cut by, I forget, 600,000 roughly. Shortly after that, having approved a budget in June of that year, the council faced the decision of how to cut, not spend on something else. That's why I'm responding to the comment. You didn't decide to spend the money on something else. You had to cut $600,000 from the budget. There was something in the budget that cost $600,000. It was the transfer station. We voted to cut it from the budget. Nobody wanted to do it, but we had to cut $600,000 from the budget. What were we going to do? Not pave the roads? After that vote, we then voted, okay, how can we keep the transfer station operation going? And the proposal was made to have it funded as a enterprise fund, user fees. I don't like it. I wish it was on the tax rolls. To get it back on the tax rolls is possible, but not right away, because we can't just increase the town tax levy by what is now, what, 800 plus thousand?
Million.
1.5.
Million plus. We can't just increase taxes by that much to put it back on the tax rolls. That would violate the tax cap law. What was discussed in May, again, if memory serves, is potentially having some sort of phase in where over a course of some years, we put a little bit more on the tax rolls, a little bit more on the tax rolls until eventually the user fee would be eliminated and it would be all on the tax rolls. Thank you.
I was just going to reiterate that we did discuss bringing it back on the tax rolls. It is an essential municipal service. And I believe at the same time that we decided to pursue a hybrid RFP, we also discussed developing a plan for over time phasing the cost of trash disposal back into the tax rolls where it does belong.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Fenton from 71 Canachet Drive. I have a few questions about this kind of whole process. One of the questions I have is that as part of the estimates, the sticker price was supposedly $235. I'm guessing that would be in 2025. I'm just kind of curious in how a 44-hour transfer station operation to a 16-hour transfer station is only $15 less.
Different operation.
So to answer this question, we are not putting 2,200 residents using the transfer station for bulky waste, because we're trying to come up with an idea of how many people will actually use the transfer station to drop off a mattress or a refrigerator. You only drop off a mattress, not a mattress, but maybe a couch. You only dispose of a couch maybe once every 5 years, or a refrigerator once every 5 years. So it's very hard for us to justify 2,000 people using the transfer station for diversion once a week. So that's why we've been shorten the number of residents that use the transfer station. And considering in the estimate, it's only 1,100 people that will be using the transfer station per year for diversion. That's how we come up with that.
And another question that I have, as the part of the proposal for option B, oops, sorry. as part of their proposal for option B is that I know you were just talking about bulky waste. Now, one of the problems I always face, I'm sure other people face as well, is I have paint, I have lithium batteries, I have e-waste and stuff like that. Is it possible to add these items to option B to be more compelling? Because one of the things I want to be able to do is not someone tell me, oh, you have to go to Johnson in order to dispose X properly. Instead of like, I don't want to dispose something not properly, you know, say like a lithium battery where it might catch on fire in a truck or something like that. You know, I mean, I always try to be responsible and to dispose stuff properly.
So I think in that scenario, those are the special collections like e-waste or hazardous material waste. Those are, Mr. Wood, correct me, those are scheduled on a yearly basis. Yeah, I mean, we don't provide hazardous waste or lithium batteries. Like, you can't get rid of that now at the transfer station.
No, I totally understand. I mean, I think like one of the things is I go to those special events that occur, I think 4 times a year or something like that. But the sucky thing is that, you know, I don't have a lot of space in my house, you know. It would be nice if to get, say, for example, I have a TV, it breaks, I'm not going to go down to local repairman shop to repair it, that's just not feasible these days, So it would be nice instead of saying, hey, 4 months from now or whatever like that, I can dispose of it, where, in a perfect system, I would be able to be like, okay, I'll just, 2 days from now, I'll take it to the transfer station, I'll take it to somewhere else, Like I said, I don't want to be able to go to Johnston just to throw away like a TV, or something like that. I think I can kind of speak to other people here is that, we want to be able just to take what we don't want and then dispose of it in the most proper manner and the most convenient way, and I think that, again, if we're going with these both option A and option B is to be able to say, okay, whatever is not possible with, the truck pickup, to be able just to say, okay, the transfer station can pick up lithium batteries, it can pick up e-waste, it can pick up all these other items, and again, I think what you can do is you can say, hey, if it's $235, but like I can dispose of whatever I need, and I don't have to go to God knows where in order to properly dispose of it. I think that makes it more attractive.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I'll be honest. No, I mean, so the idea, the intent would be, if you can currently dispose of something at the transfer station now, okay, it's legally allowable. That would be the same process with the curbside collection. Is any of the other things that you were talking about that you cannot normally dispose of at the transfer station, you still wouldn't be allowed to do it. You'd still have to wait for those special collection days and such. And to your point, yes, those folks that currently use the transfer station, one of the things that you hear about it is flexible. It's flexible. I can go there whenever I want, provided it's open. And so, yes, moving away from that, if that were ever the situation, there would be less flexibility. We're not going to kid you.
And the last question I have is, is there a possibility of having out-of-towners or maybe commercial waste using the transfer station to be more economically viable,
I think we touched base on it a little earlier. I mean, essentially the transfer station, from what we've heard from all the reports, it's an enterprise fund, but it's functionally obsolete. It's a very small facility, not a lot of turning movements. We've had to limit what size vehicles can actually go in there because the larger vehicles were damaging it. It's a very old system, and it operates on an enterprise fund. And we've been very fortunate. The users of the transfer station have been very fortunate because I think the last big expense was when we put up the new skin on the building. But if one of those motors were to go, and they're old, if one of those motors were to go, that'd be a game changer in your yearly fee. It's all based on the number of users. So yes, the number has steadily declined and it's holding pat in the 2,000 plus or minus range. But every time you lose a participant, the costs go up. So one of the things we haven't seen is an increase in usage of the transfer station. So again, these things all come into play when it's an enterprise fund. And for those folks that use it, they're willing to pay. But I think even the diehard user is going to tell you if that cost gets too much, it cost prohibitive, they're not going to be able to afford to use it. And so we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Compared to it being in the taxes and having curbside pickup. That's the comparison that is being looked at to be made. Kyle, to your point, lithium batteries, household waste, all that stuff is not permitted. We're not licensed to do that at a transfer station. We couldn't get that license. It's specialty. That's why you have Clean Harbors or Indy Cycle, who does the TVs and that stuff, pick that up. So we wouldn't be able to get that license.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Yep.
If I could also clarify, well, just a tip, the lithium batteries, you could probably take back to Home Depot as well as the paint, if that helps you at all. But just to clarify, the $235 is going to be in addition to your curbside price determined by this RFP. That's why it's brought up tonight that this might be a distraction, that not enough people are going to want to use the transfer station after we see those numbers. My suggestion is if you have 7,000 users, 4,000 users, and your price to operate that system is $259,000, you divide it by the number of users. So everybody is equitable and fair in sharing that price. And anybody can use the transfer station without buying an extra sticker.
1 second, I found a wallet.
Oh. Somebody dropped a wallet.
I don't want to give it to Jen.
No, I say it's Mr. or Mrs. Peters.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a very young picture.
Uh-oh.
Marguerite McKeeman at 22 Macumber Lane. And I think this comes back to a question somebody asked about a paper road. We're a private road. We didn't really want the big disposable trucks coming down, because guess what? We pave our road, we pay for our road to be plowed, and they destroy the road. So I want you to put into one of your highlighted area, you have to take into consideration now, if we're having these big trucks come down roads that are privately paved, privately plowed, they're gonna tear it up. So we all go to the dump pretty much on Macumber Lane because of that, because I will tell you, we flooded our whole road out numerous times because of where we are, or runoff or walk off Water Street. So that's a big consideration for us. That's why we do that. So maybe looking at coming to you guys to say, if you're going to bring those trucks down, we've got to maintain our roads. Just as a highlight, because our road was too narrow for a plow to go down. Now we're going to have a huge garbage truck.
Thank you. That's good comments. We did make it.
Yeah, well, it's either Gabe Norris or Peter Norris.
Oh, who is it?
Well, it's a picture of Gabe, but I think that's the son and Peter is the father. So this might be from the high school.
Oh.
It might have been there for a while. So we'll get it back to the school department.
Thank you, Mr. President. Larry Desmars, 50 Kristen Court. A couple of quick comments. As the president has said, the sale of tickets, stickers, that is, for the transfer station has been steady and looks like it will be steady again this year at approximately 3,100. So that's the sales of tickets, and it is steady and the revenue is steady. Previously, people have been telling us that revenue is in decline. In theory, it has, but that period is long past, like 4 years. And the numbers of people that are using the facility is steady. I happened to go there today simply because I had to get rid of something. I must say that people talking about the transfer station are correct. It's well run. It's well maintained. It is, people are helpful there. It's certainly very helpful to me. And it is one of the best run things in the town. So I think that needs to be said. All of this business is rather complicated, as we've heard tonight. But I would suggest that the one thing that isn't complicated is the idea that let the people who want to use the transfer station, who pay for it themselves, use the transfer station. And those people who want curbside pickup, use curbside pickup. And only because Mr. Catherine mentioned it, the 10 meeting didn't cut the budget, it increased it by 4%. And you and I have this discussion periodically. So.
And I always,
motion.
yeah, I always point out you're wrong.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fitzmaurice.
Good evening. Paul Kissen, 3241 East Main Road. I'm looking at the September 11th statement on the RIRAC customer summary. Just so you know, so you have a number and you know where it now come from. It's there, it appears that on that date, on the September 11th council meeting, RIRAC published the yearly financials for the yearly cost fiscal year for Portsmouth on August 31st, 2023. 1,365 ton of municipal waste was transferred to RIRAC. What is unbelievable to me right at this moment, that only, I think the number was less than 2,000 that Brian quoted, that we also had 591 ton of compostable material. It seems to be an awful lot. When I was on the council in 2016, we also had tonnages for the steel and the tonnages for the bulky waste under this RIRAC, because nothing goes, none of this material does go to RIRAC. There's no place on the website I was able to find the tonnage for steel, the tonnage for the bulky waste, the tonnage for the white goods. I could find on page 2 of the report that was only 22 mattresses in a whole year. I don't know why DPW doesn't pick them up for free as they do Christmas trees.
Because we can't recycle mattresses.
I mean, it's, I guess my recommendation would be leave the transfer station, leave the system the way it is. And if you're acting tonight on 1 or 2, don't close the transfer station, because 1, I believe it's all taxpayer funded money. I don't believe the town kicks in any money on this. I believe that the hydraulic system, one of the rams and an upgraded electrical panel was $108,000 that we put in 2016 or 17. We reskinned the building. All of those numbers to date are still the cost on the note to revamp the building and to redo the I think it was almost 2 rams. It might be down to only 1 though. But I have to tell you, Kevin, I'm better than the average 71-year-old maybe, because I found some of the information on the website. There's a lot of information in the running of this transfer station that's not on the website. It can't be found. Okay, you can go to the budget and find the allocation for the pay-as-you-throw bags. You can't tell what size, you can't tell how big the household is. You can't go and find out how much money it is and to check on it, even in the annual report. I don't know how the council is going to get to where you think you need to be to make a decision. But in my opinion, the goal should be that curbside pickup should be less as a goal, less than what we're paying at the transfer station. And I don't think that's doable. There are 7 companies picking up on the island. There are really only 2. Waste Management happens to be one. and Waste Innovation is the other, and under him come Harvey, Mega, and all the other companies. So there's only 2 vendors. You can't even meet the state requirement, knowing that Waste Innovation is a conglomeration of 5 other companies. It looks like they're bidding, but if you go to the transfer station, you can find out that Waste Innovation is running out of transfer station, not Mega.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kessler, thank you for those comments. And to your point, we may find out the same thing if we put out an RFP for the operation of the transfer station, because usually the haulers also provide the services to run the transfer station. So again, we may find we're in that same boat, but at that point, you know, again, we'll cross those bridges, but you brought up some good information.
Well, one more thing I do want to bring up, Kevin. There were 5, I believe, vendors in 2017. I can't remember the out of town guy that came in.
Lawrence Waste.
Lawrence Waste. They were cheaper than anybody. Okay, they were going to drop the sticker $15 if you use their numbers, but they got eliminated because they didn't do the proposal the way the town required them to quote unquote do it. Because at that point, the town had to do a $200,000, $2 million, I guess it was, investment and go to a 37-foot truck because nobody's hauling these 40-foot trailers anymore. And I think half the time, the trailers are leaving Portsmouth half loaded and we're paying for the haul because they can't just get the load all the way to the front of the trailer. I mean, it's an inefficient system is what I'm trying to say.
No, thank you for the comments and
I guess the second thing I would ask is if you get the information, which is impossible to do at tonight's meeting, because I would have come with it, to get the numbers on the bulk waste. Like, I believe Newport's getting $100 to pick up a mattress. They send out a special truck. Right now, we're doing it for like, is it $35? Right now, yeah, mattresses are free if they're not stained, right? But I mean, it's $35. $30 increase if they're picking up your house. You do that a bunch of times.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Hi, Lynn Glickman, 13 Harbor View Road. I want to thank the council for doing due diligence and working through all this and understanding what's going on. The one other comment I just want to make is not about the options 1 or 2, because I'm going to let you do your work, is I just wanted to mention that Staples is taking back all sorts of interesting electronic things now, and lithium batteries is on it. So look at the Staples website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Sable. I live at 222 Union Street. I am very new to this whole discussion. I knew nothing about this till a couple of weeks ago. I know nothing about your May meeting, but I can tell if you've had 56 comments. When I look at the crowd that showed up here, it tells me that you did not get a good survey of people's opinion on the subject. And several people have already mentioned this, and the response has been, well, I'm certain that sometime we're going to get to this. That's not reassuring. It seems to me if you should get to this, if you're not going to let people talk about the issue they're really interested in, which is keeping the transfer station open, then put it on an agenda and let us know it's on an agenda, and you'll see a crowd here that wants to find out about it. I have no idea why you're even considering closing the transfer station. I was told that the public pays the cost of running the transfer. The users pay the cost of running the transfer station. If that's true, I don't understand why this discussion is taking place. And so I missed the information. I'd like to hear it. I'd like to argue about it. You say we can't do it this meeting, so why don't we put it on the agenda so we can do it? Thank you.
Frank Texter, 89 Sea Meadow Drive. Excuse me. I must say I came here probably a little more heated up than I am right now, with probably some of you came as well. I do appreciate the fact, after listening to the presentations, that everyone up on the stage is trying to do the right thing. And you should be applauded for that. Unfortunately, you've boxed yourself in, and you cannot do the right thing if you do A and B or just 1 and 2. However, there is a way to do the right thing. Someone can lay a motion on the table to reconsider. You can add 3 or C, and that is put the curbside pickup out for one or out for bid, so that you have one company doing all curbside pickup, and you keep the transfer station open as well. That is that's doing the right thing. And one of your things is to put a motion to reconsider on the table anytime. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm the last person, but I'm at Walsh, 26 Birch Street. It's my father. And you, by the show of people in this room, you obviously can see that 56 people that responded to your survey is not representative of the town of Portsmouth. And my second point is that we do need to have this transfer station trash pickup and recycling pickup put on the agenda, and either another survey or another request for proposal put out for that agenda item. And then my third point was that, just like my dad said, there must be, I don't know how many thousands of residents that are handicapped and to some degree, that it would be a real hardship for them physically to get their trash out to the curb and recycling in those really big containers. And then you're putting their health at risk. And then you say that they're going to come down and do that for us. But as a lot of residents have said, they're not going to do that. They're not going to drive down a mile or like down these unpaved roads to do that. And we're going to have bulky waste out on our streets for weeks on end, and trash strewn all over our neighborhoods because it blows and raccoons and animals get into it and who knows what. And I don't know how the other towns do that when they have trash pickup, but maybe that's something that should be looked into as well. And I think that we need to have that third option on the table for the transfer station for bulky waste, and also like the existing situation that we have here. And it is a lot of money. I think another problem with this proposal that you have out now is that $235 extra, or whatever would be extra, I'm not even sure of the exact cost of what you're proposing, for bulky waste, to keep the bulky waste open. And does that include the yard pickup, by the way, all the yard materials? So that we can use that for the transfer station if we are forced to have trash pickup curbside. I think that that's something that should be addressed as well. And I'm not really clear, I'm sorry, I've been trying to keep it all straight in my head, what what is the RFPs that you're putting out now? So I'm sorry if that question's already been answered, but I would like you to answer that.
So the RFP that is in the process of being drafted is for the curbside collection. And there was, so that was for the residential curbside for eligible homes, which we've heard is 5 units or less. It's draft. We haven't finalized it yet. It's being worked on. There was, I believe, up to 10 yard waste bags per week during the spring and fall, and every other week during the summer. So that information is available. What we were trying to figure out tonight was really the extra option, because this is all coming back from that first meeting that we had in May. And the confusion at the time was, as they were going through the process for the RFP, was the bulky waste items. Did it make sense to continue with having bulky waste part of the curbside, where if we got prices, folks that had bulky waste items could get pricing? Because I believe if you currently have curbside, there's fees for that. Sometimes those items are disposed of at the transfer station for no fee or less fee. So the idea was to get firm pricing from a vendor for the diversion items in addition to the household pickup. And that was really the kind of the clarification of, do we want to have the pricing for curbside, or do we want to have the pricing for the curbside as well as keeping the transfer station open on limited use? But that limited use was intended only for these bulky waste type items. It wasn't for household waste. That's how it's structured for this RFP. So if it would be limited to the hours that were stated, Thursdays and Saturdays, and it would be strictly for those bulky type items, diversion items that would have been picked up curbside. It's not a perfect system, but this was the direction, and that's what we're trying to get the pricing on. That's the intent of the RFP, is for a vendor to try to give us their cost to do this.
But that bulky waste includes the yard waste, or does not?
No, your yard waste is allowed up to the 10 bags a week during the spring and fall, up to 10 bags a week.
Oh, so if we have extra yard waste beyond that, we have to wait until the following pickup
And potentially,
and bag
yes.
that, and then continually keep putting out more, only 10 bags a week.
Yes, I understand that, that's not, that's not feasible for some folks that have a large property. And again, these are the kind of things that a lot of this stuff was discussed, some decisions were made. There might be some, additional options that we can look at as we try to finalize the RFP. But the intent of the RFP is again for us to try to get the pricing to see what those vendors what it would cost for that curbside pickup. We're not going to have all the answers tonight. There have been a few items that have come up that we want to make sure we can address them. The private streets. I don't know if we have any decisions or direction on private streets or unimproved roads. Those were some good questions. Also, again, if folks need assistance, we've heard no cost. Want to make sure that that's all spelled out in the RFP so that up to so many users could get assistance. I don't know. Those are the kind of things we're going to have to still work through and try to make sure we capture as much as we can in the RFP. That might not be the perfect answer.
And then I'm wondering what kind of proof are people going to need to provide that they need assistance?
Yeah, that's down the road. Like at this point, we don't, at this point, we're not going to know that, but I think that's something that we would have to continue to vet through for the users that need assistance. That's something that we would probably have to be further verified because that number could change over time. So I don't have an answer for that. That's a variable that, we're gonna have to think about how we handle it.
Right.
It's a
because
good question, but I don't have an answer.
a lot of the people that use the transfer station now, like my dad even, can do that with their vehicles. They can get their everything to the dump. Okay.
I understand.
They're not going to be able to do that if they have curbside pickup,
I understand.
especially in the snow and ice.
And those, I agree. I do agree with you.
Thank you. And thank you for doing all this for us.
President. To clarify, and Brian or Mr. Rayner could help me on this, because I can't imagine, we've gone through this RFP process twice. The first one was done by the recycling committee, the bid package, but the second was put together by the town. And basically, if I recall right, whoever we hire for the curbside pickup has to submit to the town the routes for each day that they pick up trash within the town. So that's fairly easily covered with town streets, but where you have private roads and paper roads, it was up to the responsibility of the contractor to negotiate with the people on the street whether they in fact could pick up on the private and paper road streets.
That was in our previous RFP.
That was in the previous RFP. Are you planning on changing that?
So that was in the previous RFP, and it's still in this current RFP as we have it right now.
Right.
We have to
Answer that
contract
question.
responsibility for private roads.
Might leave people stranded.
Okay. Lawrence Sylvia, 24 Old Mill Lane. I used Middletown for years, and they had their transfer station that the Navy closed on them. And after that, they took option one, and I am so happy I'm in Portsmouth.
Get back in there, Colonel Vickers.
I'm very sorry that hold everybody up. Over the course of.
Colonel, can you just give me a mic?
The microphone.
Sure, thank you.
I'm sorry to hold people up, but over the course of the many years I've been around, I've been in charge of trash pickup at 5 different locations. And one time I was in charge of trash pickup, also fire protection, all the other utilities and everything else, all the buildings and everything. But trash pickup was generally routine, not nothing easy, nothing hard about it. However, over there, most of the people live in apartment buildings or in the barracks, and they had these big load alls, but the generals and a few colonels and the German trash containers, and they're about this high, and they were tapered down. They're heavy duty steel, very heavy. They had their own little wheels and a lift. So, unbeknownst to me, my chief of maintenance, who was over the trash collection, had picked up a bunch of American type trash containers and was distributing them and putting them in the general's quarters and in the colonel's quarters. So one morning at about 7:30, I was sitting at my office, secretary hadn't gotten there yet, when this colonel, who happened to be my boss, walks into my office and says, "I want my German container back." And he took this lid off an American one and beat it as hard as he could, like a Frisbee. And I started stepping, smashed into the wall behind me. So anyway, the end of the story is we gave this trash container back. So anyway, that thought came to me and I had to give it to you.
Last but not least.
No, you're not last.
Oh, no.
Oh, what?
Oh,
No,
there's probably more.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more.
Okay, Linda Hall, 238
Yeah.
Meadow Drive. Portsmouth. I've lived here for at least 35 years. I don't know. The transfer station's like a part of my life. I'm there all the time. I have a big yard and I do it all myself. I mean, if I don't have that transfer station, it's gonna cost me probably like $3,000, you know, to hire some companies to come in, do the landscaping. The guys are great. A couple days a week, they're open until late at night. They're so nice. The only thing, I'm an environmentalist, and I really can't believe that everyone here.
So, ma'am, we need you to.
Plastic bags, that's $230,000 we put into the ocean later and clog up all the seafood, our endocrine system. We have to get rid of the plastic bags, keep the transfer open, do long paper bags. We'll pay the same price. Let's get rid of plastic. And then you want to revert to our roads are small enough with all the beach traffic, and then you're gonna have these huge trucks collecting trash and, I mean, all these bins in the roads. My neighbors, I mean, we have kids on skateboards, bikes, and then you're gonna have these huge trucks come through, and then we'll hardly be able to have any yard waste in there, and I'm gonna have to wait. I don't know. We want the transfer station open. Have you seen Bristol's transfer station? They have moving van trucks. You go in, it's humongous. And ours looks like something from a third world country. It's rather embarrassing, but that we are managing. And we like it. We want to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening. Karen Gleason, 63 Massasoit Ave. So a lot of things were said, and I appreciate everyone that came out tonight. One idea that I have is that somebody mentioned on the council earlier that there's so many vendors, 4 or 5 vendors, private haulers that are coming into private homes. Well, you know, we could speak to our neighbors and say, hey, you have that one, I have this one, we have that. Why don't we get together and try to get one truck for our street or our neighborhood? It's not such a bad idea, if that's what you're so concerned about, having so many different vendors. Before I read from my notes, it's also mentioned a few times that the vote back in May, this infamous May period, was 4-3 overall to go ahead and go for an RFP. I'm assuming that the 3 was they're not interested in doing that and they were okay with the way things are. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Can't speak.
It was 4-3.
It was 4-3.
Okay, so could you just please tell me who the 3 were? You mentioned yourself, Kevin, that you want to keep, that you use the transfer.
It was myself, Mr. Gleason, Mr. Aguirre. It's part of the minutes. If you went back to May 22nd, you would see
I
it there.
just wanted to know.
Okay.
All right. So the other 4 were all set to go for the RFP. My concern is, well, there's several concerns. But one of them is, as you know, that I was collecting, and other people, a small group of us, collecting signatures for a petition to present to the council. Many people, and there were several reasons why many people want to keep the station open, but many people like the low-cost option. Because everything that's going on today in the world, prices of gas, prices of food. Go to Clements Market, you're gonna walk out spending $75 on a bag of food. I mean, and it's not just Clements, it's everywhere. We all know that. And then to think that we that use the transfer station are now paying $250. And if we're real good at recycling, that determines how many bags, orange bags, and yes, I agree, maybe we should go to paper bags. If we're real good at recycling, we're not buying as many orange bags. So, and in my household, I have to be really good at it because I'm being told often. Okay, I'll just say that. Even eggshells, at one time, we were doing the eggshells. I think they belong in the garden, but I'm not gonna get into that argument.
Save it for the house.
So where was my train of thought going with this?
Not sure. Not sure.
I'm not sure either. Anyway, let me read. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. It came to me.
How did she know?
So I'm paying $200.
Wait a minute. How did she know what was in your car?
$230, $250 that we're paying. So what you're saying is option one or even option two. I'm not gonna be paying $250 anymore a year. I'm gonna be going up, matching your price of those that have a curbside pickup and even maybe more. So we don't
That's
really know.
not true. It is not.
200, you think that, wait a minute, let me speak.
I know.
I got the floor
We're
now.
gonna line up. This.
Hold on, I don't even want to hear from you folks. I think this is an opportunity for people to get up and speak.
I'm gonna let you speak.
I fully believe, this is my own opinion, and I might not be alone in this opinion, that I am now paying $250 a year. I cannot believe that you're gonna get a price where that the price is gonna be so much better than what I'm paying, and it's gonna be $245 a year. I just can't believe that. I did the numbers, and by the way, some of these numbers are not all the same. We went to the recycling committee, I have numbers. We went to town hall, I got a number. These numbers tonight are not the same. So I'm concerned about that, all right, going forward. Losing my train of thought again.
The grand scheme of things,
So the numbers,
it's a small part of your budget.
I added the numbers based on the numbers that I had, multiply what an average price would be, well, even today, somewhere $500 a year, 600, and I have a neighbor that pays 1,200. Okay, well, when you do the math, it's like an $8 million business. It is. And I can understand why these people have been wanting to come into this town since well before 2006. I get it, it's a business. But we are a community, and in your community, you have people that maybe are wealthier than others. You have people that are on fixed incomes, and you have people that are still working, making fairly decent money, and maybe not so much decent money. So we have to have options. It's like when you go to the grocery store, you can buy a steak or you can buy chicken. Gotta have options for people. The low cost is not just about low cost. It's a lot of people who came through the petition line, hundreds, well over 1,200 to date. I like the convenience. Some people like to have nice, freshly clean houses. They come 3 or 4 times a week. I think that's great. I wish my husband would go 3 times a week. So.
No comment.
When a small group of citizens became aware that bids for townwide curbside pickup were seeking, with the potential of closing the transfer station, which sounds like that's option number 1. Station is going to be closed. It shouldn't even be this confusing, but it seems to be. Community outreach was definitely needed, so we put that in place to make people aware. This was all these people here is because certain group of people went out of their way to make everyone aware that this topic is being discussed, and it already been discussed. You already had 2 bids, I believe. So all this was happening, and all these people were not aware. And granted, you had it on whatever. You know people are busy. You know people don't know everything, but when you wanted to replace everybody's septic system, I believe we got letters in the mail. So we drew up a petition, and signs were made so that people would know what was going on. And as you know, oh, Save Our Transfer Station, what's that? What's that mean? I had a man come through the petition line that said, I'm so embarrassed. What is a transfer station? I explained it to him. You know, in the old days, we used to have welcome wagons. When you came into town, you got a list of things, there are options for you. He had no idea. When I explained it to him, he said, I'm gonna go home and talk to my wife about this. It sounds like a lot of fun. You can bring your dog, they get a treat, the kids can come. And it's only $250 a year, he said. Oh my God, I'm being ripped off.
Plus the bags, don't forget the
I
bags.
told them about the bag. I've told them everything that I know. I did, honestly, because I don't want anybody saying she didn't tell me everything. So let me just read the petition because I think.
No.
It's only gonna take a
We're not
second.
gonna read the petition.
It's only going to take a second. Take a second.
What,
All
wait a
right.
minute. How long is this petition? Because it's like,
It's
really,
4 lines.
how many?
4.
4 lines?
Yes.
All right, I'll give you 4 lines.
Save our transfer station petition. We, the undersigned residents of Portsmouth, are hereby petitioning the Portsmouth Town Council to keep the transfer station open and operating for disposing residential household waste and trash. In other words, as it's currently operating. The transfer station remains a self-sustaining operation funded solely by the people that use it. And we are also one of the highest recycling and diversion rates in the state of Rhode Island. And also it is equitable, sustainable, and economically sound. No one's really talked about the recycling. And I'm really concerned that if we do go to curbside, I think it's going to be a major problem. Anyway, that's that. And like I said, I have over 1,200 signatures. Now, I know there's a lot more out there, and we will try to accommodate a better schedule for those people that are working late and could never get to the location sites. It sounds like, unless it's different motion made tonight or a motion made tonight, we will continue collecting signatures. You might need another hall for the next meeting. I'm not sure. I will be submitting all of these signatures to the town clerk for a future agenda item to be the date to be determined. And it's also pending the outcome of tonight's meeting. More signatures will be collected for those that were unable to do so as of date. So I seriously think that maybe some people don't like to pay their $800, $1,200 a year. And there is absolutely no common sense. And I mean, I had attorneys come through the line and say, wow, is it really costing us that much to run the transfer station? I said, see that sticker on your car? It's paying for the operation. Really? Really? I said, yeah. Why do they want to close it? You know the Wally, go ask. All right? I can't tell you the number of angry people who signed this petition.
But you can.
And I said to them,
You got their names, you could tell us.
I won't.
All right, but I'm just saying,
I won't.
I know. I'm just.
And I warn them, when you get up, you can express yourself. Please be respectful. But I heard a lot. They're not liking any of you. And it is confusing, and they don't understand. If it's working and operating, take care of it, maintaining it. You've got to have options and choices for people. There are, like I said, people can afford the $1,200 a year, and there are others that cannot. And there are many more people that have larger homes and larger yards and would live on hills, and had a hillside woman here speak. You got people down at Sandy Point. I had one woman tell me, I had curbside pickup. I came home one day from work. I did not know where my barrels were. They were blown away. It was in the middle of the winter. There was snow on the ground, some ice. She found her 2 bins down at Sandy Point Beach. And by the time she dragged them up, she called and canceled her curbside pickup. love the transfer station. Thank you.
Mary McDowell, 94 Point Road. And I just want to piggyback on the last speaker's comments and talk about the importance of options in this decision. I just have a couple points that I'd like to make and maybe questions to ask, but there's usually a reason why a municipality would move to an RFP. Usually it's budget, or usually there's a deficit someplace, and I'm just concerned that the transfer station being an enterprise fund, I don't believe is running a deficit, correct?
Correct. Well, it fluctuates based on what the costs are. There have been, and Mr. Wood, you can correct me if I'm wrong, have there been years where we've run a deficit with the transfer station? So there have been times where we've run into it, where there's been a deficit, and typically what happens is we have to increase the sticker fee the
Correct.
following year to make up for the deficit.
Right, so the deficit is always put on the sticker price.
Yes.
So the people pay the deficit.
Absolutely.
So that has been a decision by the people who get the stickers, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the enterprise fund takes care of the transfer station on its own.
Mm-hmm.
When a deficit is incurred, then they increase the sticker price, correct?
Absolutely, you are correct.
So it's not, it's not because there's a deficit in the town.
No.
that you're doing
That is an enterprise fund. Really, the transfer station is a separate.
Self-sufficient.
It's self-sufficient. What we're discussing.
I mean, the town takes in the money. We issue all of the stickers. It's not self-sufficient. We are in fact contributing substantial soft costs.
But hang on, Mr. Levesque, A, you gotta use microphone, and B, if we're gonna build in soft costs, we gotta do it for everything we do in this town. It's a specious argument. And it's also an
David, to do everything, Mr. Hamilton. This is something that is not part of the normal obligation of a town.
So I just want the speaker to be able to finish, but I get your point of currently the transfer station is an enterprise fund, and in theory, the stickers cover those costs.
Correct.
In theory, and there's some exceptions to it. It's not a perfect
Well,
system, but that's what's
It's just like any other enterprise fund,
But the
right?
transfer station isn't the driver for this right at the moment. What we're trying to do is look at an alternative for the current curbside situation. And is there an opportunity for us to get one vendor to provide us pricing for the curbside collection? We're not here to vote on the transfer station. I know we're not going to vote on the transfer station tonight. I guarantee you that 100%.
Right. I guess my next thing would be, as another speaker brought out, it would not be good if you didn't at the same time with option A and B or 1 and 2, if you did not do an RFP for the existing transfer station for the 2025 expiration of their contract. It would not be, I just don't think, I just can't say how important that third piece is for information for the town. And if you're proactive now with the option 1 and 2 RFP, you've got to be proactive with the 2025 contract that is expiring for the present, so that we have valid information to make informed decisions. So I would just say that's a very important thing to do while you're doing the other. And then Another speaker brought out the importance of a separate section on the website for the transfer station. I think that, again, given the amount of interest that you're seeing, the public awareness and the public interest, that it would behoove us as a town to make sure we have a separate section right now for the transfer station information, all the information that was given prior to the meeting starting, and other information that various people have brought up. And then my last point is that if you were to have a RFP determined a particular vendor, would people in the town of Portsmouth have to use that particular vendor?
Yes. That is the intent of the RFP, is to have one vendor.
So the people, right now, there are 7 companies, but really 4, whatever. So the people who are using the companies that they want or like or have established relationships with wouldn't have the option to stay with them, correct? With the RFP, right?
That hasn't been decided yet.
That hasn't been decided yet, but it's my understanding from those that have curbside, that they're pretty much doing month-to-month type of arrangements. And you know, that's just hearsay. I don't have it. I don't have the service, so I don't know, but it's my understanding that there's no long-term contracts for individual homeowners. They may vary, but that's my general understanding.
Yeah, if I may. Oh, no, go ahead and finish.
Yes.
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
But before I end, I just want to say thank you for your service. Your jobs are not, it's a very difficult job that you're doing. And I really appreciate the fact that you've opened up a meeting like this to sit there and listen to our comments. So thank you very much. Thank you.
The information, the transfer station information will be put on the website underneath the transfer station tab, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we'll create a section. There's a section on the website that breaks out the waste management and recycling. We'll create a tab just for the transfer station, and we'll get all of this information up as soon as possible. I am going on vacation, but we got staff here that's going to take care of it, and I will be monitoring this while I'm away.
All right, so just based on some of the recent speakers, I had some points I wanted to add to the discussion. There's a few different ways that different towns collect municipal waste, right? Middletown, for example, they have a curbside pickup program. Their sticker costs $160 a year, and they pay for pay-as-you-throw bags, so significantly less than what our stickers currently cost. I don't know if that's an apples to apples comparison. There's questions there. Bristol, for example, has a much more robust trash pickup system where they own their own trucks. They do their own pickup. It's, I believe, included in the tax rolls from when I lived there. It's, you know, a bigger town. They have a much more robust system. What we did in trying to solve the problem that we have is we actually worked with a consultant to give us input and feedback as to what our options were and what the best option for Portsmouth would be. In May, that consultant attended that meeting, and I asked him point blank, in your opinion, based on the hundreds of municipalities that you have helped and the different waste management programs that you've helped set up in different municipalities, what would be the lowest cost, most cost-effective and efficient way for Portsmouth to handle its municipal waste? The consultant's response was a curbside program that is open to the entire town. And the best way to get the most competitive pricing for that curbside program, so we can actually get a realistic apples to apples comparison with our transfer station, is to do a clean RFP for curbside pickup that has a single waste hauler for the entire town. That's the way that we're going to get the most competitive pricing for curbside pickup. We have data for the transfer station. We've been operating it for decades. We know what it costs. We know what the trends are. It's easier for us to forecast what the transfer station is going to cost in 2025. So once we get numbers from this RFP, we can have a productive discussion and an apples to apples comparison of what it would cost per household to pay for curbside pickup per household and what it costs for the transfer station to continue operating after 2025. Now, the reason why there isn't an option 3 on the table right now is because that is the data we need right now to be able to make a discussion. If we do decide to go with curbside pickup, there's a ramp up period where the hauler needs about a year to get the program set up, to get all the bins manufactured and delivered to everybody. We need to be able to prepare for that if that's the right answer for Portsmouth. If it's not the right answer for Portsmouth, we have time to go out to bid to keep the transfer station operating if that's what we decide. Once we have the data and we can actually make a productive, a realistic comparison of what it's going to cost. So there's just a lot of pieces that went into this puzzle, and we really are trying to make the best decision possible for the residents of this town. And once we have the data from the RFP, then we'll compare the numbers, figure out what the most cost-effective solution is, what's going to cost the taxpayers as a whole the least amount of money. I think the reality of the situation that we're dealing with is that we do have an option right now. People have the option to pay the $250 and to go to the transfer station, or they have the option to contract with a private hauler. The reality is that the majority of households in Portsmouth have voted with their dollars. And they are opting to pay significantly more money to have their trash picked up by a private hauler, which is a data point in this analysis. Regardless of what we decide with the numbers, that is something we do need to keep in mind, and we need to make a decision that serves the majority of Portsmouth in the most cost-effective way.
My name is Bob Medeiros. I live at 1661 East Main Road. And I have 2 questions and a story to tell.
Short story.
The first question is there any length of time for the contract that you are proposing? Does it have to be rebid every 5 years, 2 years, 1 year? What?
Normally it's 3.
Contract, Bob.
They don't know.
Normally they're 3-year contracts.
Getting proposals.
Is it fine?
Okay.
No contract time.
No
is that right now.
contract time.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
Second question.
Back to your question, sir, your first question is, Brian will answer that, but there is a set time in the RFP that will be asked for the contract to be valid. Brian, can you?
So in the RFP, the contract time for the curbside collection is a 5-year contract.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It is a 5 years because we have to amortize the costs over a 5-year period. If we shorten that time frame, it costs more money for the sick.
5 years. Yeah. Okay. Chucky, I got a question you can answer. Is it still in the?
Oops. Can you bring the microphone back up?
Something's got to give. Uh-oh.
That's okay.
Now you broke it.
Just pop right in.
Meeting's over.
This was going to be quick.
Okay.
Is it still in the rules for contract negotiations that you must award the contract to the lowest qualified bidder? That used to be the rule. Is it still?
Qualified.
Lowest qualified bid.
Yeah. The issue often, Bob, is whether they're qualified or whether they fulfilled all of the obligations of the request.
Then you have to choose the lowest.
Right.
Oh, just say that again. Just say that again.
All right, I'm supposed to say that again. The general principle is still the same. The rule is still the same, or the law is still the same. You ought to go with the lowest qualified bidder that conformed in all respects to the proposal that you put out.
Okay. I'm not sure any of you remember about 40 years ago. That's why I asked you. I was on the school committee and we were negotiating a new contract for the trash pickup for the school system. And Gabriel Medeiros, I don't work for him or anything. I'm not related. Gabriel Medeiros always had that contract. We went out to bid, and I don't want to mention the company, but it's a large national company. They're still in business, underbid Gabriel. Gabriel came in and spoke to us, and he said there's no way that they can collect the collect the trash in the school system for that amount of money. And he says, they're doing it to put me out of business. Now you have 5 local contractors, local people in town picking up trash. Back then there was only one. And Gabe depended on the school system to support his business. Well, we gave him the contract because we believed him that, I don't want to mention the name, but his initials are WM. They outbid him by quite a bit with the intention of putting him out of business. And he said this to us. So we gave him the contract to pick up the trash. I think it was something like $35,000 a year. Well, Waste Management, oh, I did it. I said their name. Sued us. And we went to court over this. And the whole school committee sat there and told our story to the judge that Gabriel would go out of business without this contract. And that Waste Management had underbid him just to put him out of business. Now, we've got 5 local contractors in town. I assure you that I can tell you who's going to win this contract, and it's going to be, you know, who. We won't name him. So anyway, they will underbid whoever it is with the intention of putting your 5 local contractors out of business. No matter what it takes. That's when I wasn't going to get up here until I heard you say that there was only going to be one contractor to do the local, all the town pickup. And there's only one company that can afford to underbid everybody. They're going to get the contract. And then when your 5 people, local contractors, are out of business, okay, then I don't know what we lost. The judge pointed out the rule that you have to pick the lowest bidder.
I don't think that any of the trash haulers are local businesses in Portsmouth. There are 5 trash haulers that are servicing the town of Portsmouth. I don't think any of them are local.
Okay, but there won't be any others.
It is a very small group of them now. And again,
there won't be any competition. There won't be any competition. From then on, after that contract went up, there was nobody bidding against them after that.
All we can do is.
They're probably still collecting the trash for the school system, by the way.
I can't speak to that, but what I can say is all we can do is put out the RFP in accordance with the bidding laws, and then evaluate them at that point. And, you know, we do have to take into consideration the lowest qualified bidder, and that's how they'll be evaluated.
It's more than the lowest consideration. You go to court, the judge will rule against you.
That's a risk.
You'll be forced to take the lowest.
It all depends on I do know a little bit about the public bidding laws, and I am aware, I know.
He's a lawyer right there.
And I've bid a number of projects, not trash related. But I do know what you're saying, and I do know that appeals go to a court if bids are contested. I am aware of that, but the language is the lowest qualified bidder. And so that's what we have to do.
You lost a $150,000 contract to the lowest qualified bidder back there a few years ago.
40 years ago, I know. I'm sorry that happened, but I think right now we have bidding laws.
I was on the committee to do the town hall renovation, and the contract went to the lowest bidder for the insurance, who company went out of business before the contract was finished. And we had problems. Insurance.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Medeiros, for your comments.
Just in response to what was said regarding the RFP going forward with our present transfer station. I really sincerely believe that I know we have data points of what is, how many people use it, et cetera. I think that it is still imperative that we get an RFP. And if we're looking for an RFP for 5 years by these other carriers, then we should look for an RFP for 5 years for the present transfer station. Let the people who are funding the enterprise fund know what the situation is. Let them also decide and have that as an option. I really think would be remiss if we did not go forward with that at the same time that we're going forward with the other RFP. And I think the added thing here is that if you get an RFP from these companies, you also show your cards to the present transfer station. You show them what is out there. And I don't think that's apples to apples anymore. They know the price that is out there. They know what the town is going to be willing or not willing to spend. And they're going to put their RFP in a whole different light. So anyways, I think it's imperative to get it.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. Is there anybody online?
Not required.
No, Kevin.
Senior fees. This gentleman spoke of 2,200 people, 500 people purchased extra $10. There were senior fees and there were 5 War College.
Exemptions.
Yeah, exemptions. Senior fees. Can you describe what makes a senior? Because we have a lot of seniors. It was a question that was sent to me.
It was sent to you?
It's a reduced sticker price, and it's based on the discount you get for your home. You get the same percentage from the sticker fee. So if you're receiving a 15% reduction on your home because of income, then you'll get a 15% reduction on the sticker fee. And there are 18.
You gotta talk into the mic.
There are 18 seniors.
The seniors are disabled or.
Just, Matt, if you could just reiterate the process again.
The reduced stickers are a result of people that are receiving an exemption on their property taxes based on their income. And whatever that deduction is, that's applied to the sticker price. So if someone's getting a 15% reduction on their taxes for the home, they'll get a 15% reduction on the sticker fee.
Is that an automatic process so the town?
Well, they have to apply for the exemption for the property, then
Right,
we
but if-
automatically apply.
Right, so somebody is not missing out on the savings if they're already getting it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay. I think we have one more. Two more.
Not true, by the way. I can vouch for the fact that I don't stand a reduction.
All right, well, I can't take that comment from the back, but we could look into it or maybe follow up after the meeting.
First Pedro, 15 Pearl Street. I don't know what I'm doing up here either. It's like jumping in at the polar dive, you know, everybody else is doing it, you just gotta do it.
No, you don't, Liz. you
I
don't.
know, but
All right.
I feel compelled.
Okay.
Okay. Because I've been away a while and so I'm a little confused. So the vote in May was to come up with a hybrid plan to keep the transfer station and do curbside. Was that the vote in May? I'm confused about the
The
vote.
vote in May was for the hybrid plan for curbside collection with an option for using the transfer station as a option for the diversion items.
Okay,
That's what we're looking at, and that's what we're trying.
that was the
And
vote
Liv, could I
in
say?
May. So it was already.
By the way, you're not the only one who was confused, because the thing we're dealing with today is a request for clarification
Right, I see that.
on that vote.
Yep. So I guess I'm saying, let's clarify. But you just did, so that's the vote, is to, this RFP is gonna be to keep the transfer station only for bulky stuff.
For the purposes of this RFP,
Yeah.
for the purposes of
It'll
this
be
RFP,
curbside, so it's basically gonna be curbside. So it's this vote, that vote in May was basically to have the RFP to close the transfer station, because essentially both of these options close the transfer station to trash pickup,
As we know it.
to trash.
That's right.
Yeah,
in
so basically, both of these options close the transfer station.
Only if we accept the
If you
RFP.
accept this.
Correct.
Whatever this.
RFP,
comes up with.
correct.
And so when you did that figure for the households, the total households in Portsmouth, is that what it was, 7,000 something? What was that?
7,200.
What, and that was households?
Yes.
Okay. So then it was said that people are talking with their pocketbooks and that most people have trash pickup. But when you consider those 7,000 households, a lot of those are like Sunny Acres and Almeida Towers and,
No, they're not.
No.
well,
The Almeida Towers is
they're
more than 5
private,
units.
they're already private.
Correct.
They're not
That's what I'm saying.
factored.
They're not factored
That's what
in.
I'm saying.
Well, I don't
So
think
those are
that's what
part of
you're saying.
those
No,
7,000 households.
no, they're not.
They're not part of the
And
7,000.
what about like, Oakland Farms and,
No.
It's not.
No.
okay.
No.
So,
The
This
7,000
leads me-
was residential properties and apartments 5 units or less. That's where the 7,000 comes from.
Homes and condominiums are not included there.
okay,
They have their own.
so basically, you need to put
Take down.
all the residents in to get the best price.
Correct.
So that means you need to eliminate all of the transfer station users to subsidize the people that want curbside.
Now, the opposite is true.
That's really what you want to do.
But the
So
opposite
you
is
want
true as
to, you
well.
need to get rid of that transfer station in order to make this work.
No,
Yes,
no,
yes.
no.
Because
You can,
you're
listen.
only gonna get the
Okay.
best price if
The
you,
opposite.
you're only gonna get the best price if you include the whole town.
70% of the people in this town do not use the transfer station. So it is actually the other way around, that those 70% of the people will be subsidizing and hopefully making it a less cost for the people who use the transfer station. Yes,
Yes.
yes, that is the way the RFP is written to be at work. Okay, all right, I'm not going to argue with yelling for this. I do have an announcement to make.
What difference does it make?
Hold on, Liz, wait a second.
We do have one quick announcement. We've got about 10 minutes and we got to go.
Okay,
Well,
so what difference does it make what it costs if these people are willing to pay the fee? Who cares? If you're gonna look at it, and say, okay, well, Waste Management says, it's gonna cost $200, but your transfer station people, that's $250. So we're gonna save everybody $50 or whatever. Well, suppose these people are willing to pay the $250 for the transfer.
Are the people going to be willing to pay $250 if it costs $200 to pick it up at their house and it's already included in their taxes?
What if they do?
Okay,
I mean, but you're still saying that you have to close it.
we're not gonna, unfortunately, we're gonna run out of time. We can't be yelling the comments and questions. I know
I'm not yelling.
it wasn't you, it was comments were coming. Comments were coming.
I am voting, I would like to see choice. I would like to see these people have a choice. Once it's gone, you know, like, and then when they raise the prices, there's nowhere to go.
So
Craig Gardner, 149 Canachet Drive.
this just for those, this will be the last speaker tonight, only because they're
We
kicking
have
us
to
out.
vacate
They're
it.
kicking us out.
Understand, trying to keep this to the point, which is option 1 or option 2.
Thank you.
And I clearly think the evidence is that most people want to see the transfer station available as an open option. So option 2 seems to be certainly supported more than option 1. However, my question about the inclusion in the RFP for the transfer station as 2 days a week, bulk items only. Why is it not possible to have 2 days a week, all items, including household trash?
Right. Yes.
That would give 2 days a week for people using the transfer station as it is, and they would still have track. I find it more convenient to drop off every 2 or 3 weeks something at the trash station instead of having to wheel out something on a day of the week, on a day of the time, and so on. So I don't understand the need to exclude regular trash in that RFP. I think that's all I need to say.
Thank you for your comments. I do understand your question.
President, could I move that we close the public meeting?
It's not a public meeting. I mean, it's not a public hearing. So, but at this point, we just have to end because we literally, we have to leave. So the last guy.
John Creighton, 841 Watling Road. I don't hear well, and I apologize if this question's already been asked and answered. But when you're talking household trash, is that yard waste? Is that branches, leaves, things like that?
It's limited, so it can go in a yard bag, if you can get it in a yard bag. But if there are branches or anything, it's the same process as if you were taking it to the transfer station. It has to be cut into 3-foot pieces or something along those lines. Whatever the rules are for disposing of yard waste at the transfer station would apply to the curbside pickup.
Right, okay, thanks.
Is that okay? All right. So, I mean, at this point,
We need to adjourn the remainder of the meeting to our next meeting.
No, we got time.
I'm not gonna, I just have a question. Are you gonna continue this? since
That's what we're
trying to decide that?
decide.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why? Just
Because
Finding out loud.
So we have items on the agenda.
do we have a?
There's an item on it, there's 2 items on the agenda. We can either make a motion to accept option 1, we can make a motion to accept option 2. I would make a motion that we accept option 2 and at least give people the most flexibility as possible to get the RFP on the street. No, you thought we were going to continue it.
Well, I just asked.
Yeah, and he said we were discussing it.
Right now, if we
Right,
could.
I understand, but if more people want to talk, how can they don't get an option to talk? That's why I was asking.
That's why
Or not.
I think we've been going at this for the better part of 2.5 hours. The bulk of the comments tonight have been to keep the transfer station open. There's only been a handful of folks who actually stated option 1 or option 2. I say this with all sincerity. We understand that there is a strong desire for folks that want to keep the transfer station open. That's not what we're voting on tonight. We're voting on an RFP to get pricing.
But everyone, as you heard too, a lot of people didn't see the white paper. A lot of
Okay,
people did surveys.
but here's the thing. The council had a public hearing and made a decision. Whether we agree with the decision or do not agree with the decision, the council acted and made a decision back in May. We are here tonight for clarification on action that was already discussed in a public meeting and decisions were made. Again, it doesn't matter if I'm for the decision or against it at this point. We are here tonight, option 1 or option 2, we've just been provided a motion. So really, I
Run out of
I
time.
second the motion.
Provide a motion.
Come on, we're okay.
No. So
Yell at me.
we
Motion made, seconded.
You have a second from
So we have a
Seconded by
motion
Mr. Levesque.
to continue to proceed with option 2. Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes 6-0 to proceed with option 2 for purposes of the RF.
Mr. President, the 3 items I have put on the agenda, I think the administrator is familiar with, so he can handle those. I just table those for the time being. I would move that we accept all the correspondence and place them on file.
I think we need to do them one at a time. So you're willing to table all 3 of your agenda
I
items?
believe the administrator knows my point.
Okay, no, but you just make a motion to table all 3.
That's a second to motion to table.
Oh, okay.
Just separate the 2 motions.
Motion
That's
to
all.
Oh, okay.
The town clerk, that's all.
the new business items.
And I'll second the motion to table the 3 items.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
The
passes.
motion to accept the correspondence and place on file.
Move. So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet.
Now, future
Oh,
meetings.
You just have to
Future
announce.
meetings, November 13th, November 27th, and December 11th. Are our next.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Which meeting?
Our
Next meeting's at the town council chamber.
Location?
No, we're not continuing anything. 1, 2, and 3.
Voted.
The table, so